I am walking back to the manor when Rose storms out in a panic. She immediately spots me and rushes to my side. From the red in her cheeks, I can tell that she has been running for a while. She still stinks of tainted blood. Gah, what is it with tonight? Can I not enjoy this party in peace? Is it too much to ask that the world polices itself for one evening? Miss Ari, your uncle asks for you. He has been challenged to a shooting competition and turned it into a 3-on-3 public match. Everyone is waiting. Seriously. Seriously. I raise my eyes to the silent watcher and think, can you believe this? I get a vague feeling that it is not impressed. Fair enough. Dalton, take Inez and make sure she stays safe. There could be more of them. Yes, mistress. And Dalton? Be careful, my vassal. I will be. He leaves without a word. I am lucky to have him around. How did I manage society without his helpful presence? Ah, yes, I have been living like a recluse for 6 months. I was not managing anything. I stride towards the front of the house and notice in passing that the ballroom is empty. This explains the lack of reaction we got when the soldiers returned victorious. The other revelers did not hear us. The garden in front of the manor is a meticulously kept lawn. The partygoers have gathered in a semicircle around 2 targets. My uncle and his 3 giggling girlfriends are forward and to the left, while Captain Lons and his 3 stooges mirror him on the right. In the middle of it stands Cecily, currently playing the violin. In the distance, someone set up 2 target practice dummies. They are at least 30 paces away from the crowd and surrounded by lit torches. I cannot believe my own eyes. They are serious about this. Loth notices me and has the audacity of winking. I roll my eyes and join him on the lawn, feeling the heavy weight of the crowd's attention weighing on my back. I turn around. The center of the semicircle is occupied by our hosts and Bingle, the guest of honor. He seems a bit upset, though when our eyes meet, I am graced with the most awkward and exaggerated nod I ever received. Cecily finishes her piece, a respectable performance, and joins her parents. Loth untangles himself from his improvised harem and struts forward. His booming voice soon fills the clearing. Ladies and gentlemen, fine people of Fort Barrington, good evening. My name is Loth Delaney and I have the honor of being your guest tonight, as well as your entertainer for a very specific event. And what an event it will be! Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, my martial abilities, my very skills as a marksman have been questioned. Can any southern gentleman let this challenge stay unanswered? Nay. And what better way to dispel such a notion than a good and proper demonstration, I ask. There is none. For deeds speak louder than words. As the provoked party, I took the initiative to select a format that will, I hope, garner your approval. 3 of us will take the field, for 3 opponents of Captain Lon's choosing. That rotten twat, of course. As my champion, as my second, I humbly beg the assistance of Sir Bingle, the hero of the hour. And you shall have it, replies the adventurer with a resounding voice that matches Loth's tempestuous baritone. The crowd roars its approval at the theatrical display. It is just the start. Thank ye, sir, and for my second champion, I ask the only other person of my blood present. My niece, Ariane. It is rude for a proper lady to raise her voice, and so I merely curtsy. The announcement is welcomed with equal part excitement and disapproval, or is it merely surprise? As for the rules, we shall take turns shooting at the targets before us. Each person gets 1 shot. Shots to the head are worth 10 points, the body 7 and the limbs 4. The team that after 3 shots has the most points, wins. Now, let us begin, and may fortune favor the bold. Applause fills the air as Lydia Tillerson steps forward with 2 engraved muskets. I pick one and a sneering officer with black hair picks the other. Well, aren't we confident? The crowd is still cheering, partly due to Loth's limited eloquence but more, I suspect, because of alcohol. I do so hate when Loth is bored. A solid-looking soldier with graying sideburns goes first. He loads the musket with practiced ease, patiently lines up the shot and fires on his target. The roar of the weapon is accompanied by womanly yells of dismay. Yes. Firearms are loud. Lady Tillerson steps forward and verifies that indeed, it is a square hit to the chest. The assembly erupts in polite congratulations and I spot Cecily inscribe a big 7 on a piece of blackboard brought for the occasion. The man is a cautious soldier and with the distance, it is not so easy to guarantee a headshot. For humans, that is. I judge his decision as wise with the limited information he has access to. Bingle steps forward but Loth will not have it. He jumps to his feet and bellows. As the eldest, I claim the first shot. The facetious Dverger then winks to me and stumbles as he takes the musket from my hand. He makes a show of loading the weapon and even has the paper cartridge brought to him by a blushing beauty. Loth aligns the sight, takes the time to give me a radiant smile then pulls the trigger. I roll my eyes just as our target's head bounces back. Dead silence spreads over the clearing. Unfazed, the lady of the house inspects and announces. Headshot. The front of the house resounds with yells and cheers. On the soldier side, Lon's eyebrows creep up in astonishment. A smug 10 appears on our board, outlined twice by a vengeful Cecily. The advantage is with us. It is the captain's turn. He loads his musket with slow and deliberate movements. Several seconds pass as he aims. The tension is palpable. A loud bang heralds their own target's head reeling back. The screams of excitement eclipse even the sound of the discharge. What started as a bet has turned into a memorable show. Let us see if I can make it unforgettable. Bingle detaches from the family and picks the musket and cartridge I offer him with a tense look. He, too, loads according to the manual and lines his shot with deliberate patience. Yet another cloud of blue smoke lifts in the air and after it clears, Lydia shouts the result. Body shot. Again, the crowd cheers in delight. Both teams are now tied and everything will depend on the last competitors. Bingle chose not to take risks, nor to offend the soldiers. How politically minded of him. In perfect silence, the smug-looking officer loads and shoots with the ease of the veteran marksman. Body shot. Yells the mistress to everyone's delight. It is my turn. I step forward and look at Loth. His smile is vicious and predatory as he points his finger towards the space between his eyes. I slightly turn to Cecily who makes a long and very obvious gesture of slicing someone's throat. All right then. With the ease of experience, I hold the musket horizontal, bite the paper cartridge and pour powder into the pan. Spitting the piece of paper is accompanied by some whispers of disapproval from the traditional fringe of the assembly. I close the frizzen and place the butt of the weapon on the ground. I shove the cartridge in the barrel and push it down with the ramrod which I quickly reattach. I lay the weapon horizontal with a flick of the wrist, line the shot and fire. It took me around 10 seconds which is fast but not inhumanly so. I wait for the hit to be witnessed. It does not happen. I turn around to a wall of shocked faces. The only one who isn't surprised is Loth. He is currently laughing to tears and drying his eyes with a handkerchief. Well, 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 niece, I believe you are half an inch wide to the left. Oh, he dares. You were wide as well. I overcompensated. It's a headshot. Yells Lydia with astonishment. It starts slow, ripples between groups and inflates until the acknowledgement of my prowess becomes a deafening ovation. Loth is looking like a cat who found the pot of cream. This is less about the result, more about playing the crowd. In the end we have a supernatural advantage and the experience to back it up. The soldiers including Bingle will aim for the center mass because it is enough to incapacitate any human they hit. We, however, train to hit quick-moving monsters. A stationary target at 30 paces is child's play. My eyes meet Cecily's. She is glowing with pride and sated revenge. Our victory is announced on the blackboard with broad letters. Lon's group is less than pleased. I believe that once the rumor spreads, the loss of face will dog them for years. It does not matter that two of us and one of them pulled a very difficult shot. People will only remember that they were beaten by a girl. A pale girl with blonde hair and deep blue eyes that came out of nowhere. Heavens, I hope this does not spread too far. I would not want someone to add 2 and 2. Loth, what have you done? And why? Everyone spills on the ground to congratulate the victors. Our target is brought forward and the 3 black holes in the cloth held for all to behold. Our victory is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt and the few dissidents are quickly silenced. I meet eyes with the soldier with grey Morse mustache and he salutes me. I find the move touching and quite sportsmanlike, and curtsy in return. For a while, I am forced to handle everyone's attention as politely as I can. Bingle comes to compliment me on my shot with Rose on his arm, expressing his complete trust in me. This man is unbelievable. His pride extends to those he sees as allies, and my success is a cause for joy. Truly a relic from the past. He should have sat at the round table. It takes a while for things to wind down. I find myself shooting another 2 times in friendly competition, while teams form up to emulate the original show. Loth may have created a trend here. I am about to follow my irresponsible pseudo-uncle inside the mansion when my nose picks the group's heavy musk. I decide that I would leave them a few hours of intimacy before we have that discussion. When I turn around, a flash of light catches my eyes. Only a few people notice and then immediately dismiss it. Unfortunately for me and with how the evening has been going so far, I know I must investigate. I discreetly reach the tree line and rush in the direction of the sound. It doesn't take long before another flash of white light illuminates the undergrowth and soon I am close enough to hear a commotion. Oh, no. No. How could this happen? We are still far from everything, practically at the edge of European expansion. This should not be possible. There shouldn't be another vampire here, and yet there is no mistaking this cold aura. Flash. A hiss of anger. Impossible. Sinead was spotted. We are far from everything. Is this bad luck or some cosmic joke? I could just leave. I promised Sinead safe passage. That doesn't mean that I need to protect him. No. If he falls now I will never get his blood. That won't stand. This blood is mine. Mine. I run through the dense copse of trees until I see movement in the distance. I move forward and am immediately noticed. A man slowly steps out of a mass of ferns. I call him a man out of generosity for he is more beast than kin. He is also the vampire I felt. Some affliction took him over only to leave behind a tortured husk. His cloth is ravaged and stained. The stench of rancid blood overwhelms my sensitive nose and so does he. It is as if he had turned, like spoiled milk or vinegar. His pallid skin slouches lightly and instead of our needle nails, he sports true talons of malformed chitin. Is this what happens if we let go too completely? Followed me to the prize did you? Can't have him, can't have him. Mine. Mine. Took everything you did. This I'll keep and when I come back you will all pay. Should not have cast me away. Not sharing this treasure, oh no. All mine. This man is far gone. He licks his lips when I reveal a white leg and does not even seem to notice the knife I retrieve from its sheath. I move first. I rush his left side and take a jab at his heart. His claw misses the blade yet at the same time he twists on himself and the blade only slides against his flank. Little girl, you're young. Should have stayed with the others. We exchange a few blows, me with my weapon and him with claws. I am quickly pushed back. His strength is insane. I fail to deflect completely and his left hand slices into my shoulder. At the same time, I rotate and manage to catch his face with the tip. We separate. I got his left eye and he doesn't care a bit. Thick black blood seeps from half a dozen superficial wounds I inflicted using my superior range, while the one cut on my shoulder stings horribly. Young, too young. Don't know you. Not a Harcourt, not an Ehrenwald. I rush him again, more carefully. I use my superior speed and range to harry him and even manage to slice off 2 fingers. If my strikes do something it doesn't show. You're not one of my pursuers then. Too inexperienced. Let me show you how I could run away. He dodges back and places 2 feet against the trunk of a tree and pushes. I yelp in surprise and duck, not a moment too soon. My foe barrels over me like a cannonball only to smack into a nearby tree with the noise of broken bones. How stupid can he be? I think as I turn to stab him in the back. We're in the middle of the forest, of course The man is already pushing his feet against the trunk he impacted. Too late, can't. He crashes against me. All air leaves my lungs as I am propelled backward and against something solid. His claws dig into the bracer of my left forearm which I placed in front of my heart. His other hand digs into my fingers, trying to pry my knife off. Only his missing digits prevent him from carrying out his plans. So strong. Slowly I manage to angle my blade to slice into his hand, yet at the same time, one of his claws reaches the bone. Hurts. Trapped. Wounded. Bite. His torso is against mine. I have no leverage. He is so powerful that a human would have had his arms ripped off already. Even with enhanced strength, I feel things tearing. I must escape this. With an impatient grunt, the man arches his back and head away from me. His forehead smashes against my cheek. I only manage to turn my head at the last moment. He arches back and I move and bite into his face. My mouth closes around his nose. Devour. He tastes bad, sour, but not toxic. Power. Power is good. My foe once again shows his disregard for pain. He still pulls away and something rips. I spit the flesh and prepare to bite again. Something is wrong, the air shimmers around us. Instead of attacking me, my foe recoils in horror. His mangled hands raise up reflexively. Won't get a better chance. I stab him and he still manages to move at the last moment. I try to compensate and fail. It hurts. The blade still bites deep in his chest. I just need to slice and... Both of his hands smash down into my forearm with enough strength to shatter the bone. Pain. I lash out with my left claws and dig deep in his face. Both his eyes are red ruins now. I just need to slice his throat. He angles his head down and when I stab forward, he bites down. I manage to move away and only get scraped by his canines. I twist away as he slices me but not quick enough. I was too committed. He catches me under my right breast and the strength of his strike lifts me off the air. I see the ground getting away. My ribs cracked. Something hits the small of my back, increasing the pain I already feel there, then another hits my head, then another hits my left leg. I land heavily on a root and roll on the ground like a ragdoll. HSS. Ow. This hurts. Curses. Stand up and fight. I slowly pick myself up, trying to ignore the litany of aches I feel in my body. The broken ribs are the most painful of all. I need to finish him off. There will be no egress for me with these wounds. On open ground, his ridiculous jumps will allow him to close the distance. How I wish I had told Loth instead of going alone. So stupid. Gah, I hope this mistake will not cost me my life. Just have to stand up, Ari. Come on. Stand up. Up. Stand up. With a cry of pain, I finish dragging myself against a trunk just in time to see that a cursed vampire is blindly stumbling forward towards me, feeling the air in front of him with my own dagger. Defiler. Thief. Fey mine, blade mine. HSSSSSS. Found you, little girl. Kill you, then drink, then I'll go. They won't catch me. You, sir, are going nowhere. Sinead, give me noise. I wait because I know why my opponent recoiled in terror and who produced the blinding flash of light. Soon, the sounds of the forest are amplified beyond reason. My foe is disoriented by the cacophony of the forest. I brace and jump above him, landing lightly behind him. I grab my chest in pain and take a second to gather myself, then I do as he did. I jump on his back. As expected, he twists at the last moment, but this time I'm not trying to stab but to grab. I coil around him as best as I can with a broken arm and bite deep in his neck. He flails and bucks as I devour. When this does not work, he jumps back and crashes me against a tree, head first. I manage to protect myself with a raised arm at the moment of impact, so the shock only allows me to bite deeper. It only takes a few more seconds for him to stop struggling. Devourer, he whispers with a note of fear. I keep draining him until there is nothing left. After what feels like ages, I fall away from the corpse just as it starts disintegrating. It was a good hunt, I say and wince in pain. That was some good power, if a bit sour. Now I just need to. Trying to move sends a sharp spike of agony through my gut. What is He stabbed me. That faithless son of a mongrel stabbed me with my own bloody dagger. Arg. The CUR. I touch the handle and hiss. I need this out, but I am really tired and this is quite painful. The wind whispers in my ears, hold on Nightwalker, I shall fetch your vassal for you. Yes, if he comes near, the thirst will turn me insane. This was supposed to be a goddamn relaxed evening, and now I am bleeding out in the woods with my own knife in my stomach. Why? Why? Is this divine retribution for clinging to life? For not letting those fanatics spike my heart in the foul-smelling depths of the vampire fortress? I should just bah. I slowly drag myself in a small recess just so that a misplaced root does not dig into my bruised back. I take quick and shallow breaths to fight off the pain. Damn it all, I need to staunch the wound. I use my unbroken hand to apply light pressure and realize the dress is already soaked with my blood. If I remove the blade, I will be incapacitated for sure. And when I wake up again. This hurts. Damn it. I wish I could look at the silent watcher and meditate, but the canopy is too dense. I have stopped being a real fledgling for one bloody day and I'm already a wreck. Is there an end to this? My life hasn't changed since a year ago. I ran away from the fortress, ran away from the Lancaster and from the Order. Then I hid with Loth and ran around to assuage my thirst while waiting to grow. Now that I can stay awake for longer than 8 hours and don't have to spend a significant amount of that time hunting, I am running around to solve issues. I was supposed to be a leader, not everyone's problem solver. Why am I only able to handle the things directly in front of me? Is this my fault? Should I plan better? And what of that vampire? I am quite sure that he was a fugitive. His words lend credence to my belief. Are there more like him? How likely am I to be found by an errant monster? Are they being tracked and could they lead others to me, or was this just the height of misfortune? So many questions. I know what I will next ask Jimena. I wince at a pain that does not abate. I think I am no longer healing. I close my eyes and focus on breathing. I am not dying, not like last time. I am, however, quite cold. And tired. I could just stop for a few moments. Let go a bit. Stop breathing. It does not even hurt anymore. I have fled. I flee. I will keep fleeing. I do not need air nor water to keep pushing, to pummel the earth with my feet and leave dust and fallen leaves in my trail. So long as the tainted blood flows through my veins, the limitations of this form can be ignored. Unfortunately, the same goes for my pursuers. I can hear them behind and to the side. They are trying to close in and box me. I am fast and I am no city bird, so I have managed to stay one step ahead, but it is only a matter of time before a mistake sends me to my knees and my subsequent demise. We will find you. They say, it is inevitable. I keep going. What can I do but stay ahead for as long as I can? Eventually, my foot is snagged by a root I saw too late. I land awkwardly, and even as I pick myself up, the shadows gather around me for the kill. And then they die. Incredible power is unleashed to vaporize all my foes. Flames of blue spread and annihilate them where they stand. When it is done, not even ashes remain. I am paralyzed with terror as a giant with fiery hair walks past me and kneels by my side. Interesting nightmare, Nightwalker, if painfully classic. How I wish I could be my true self in the real world as well, and show your kind the error of their ways. I would keep you alive as a pet, of course. You are just so precious. His armor shines in white and blue with such an intensity that I wonder why I have not been burnt to a crisp yet. He is terrifying, a force of nature. I dare not meet his eyes. For the first time, I see someone who could take on my master and live. Yes, proper respect, finally. If the goddess wills, one day you will see it with your own eyes. Now, wake up. I regain consciousness on the bed of my guest room. Loth and Dalton's worried faces are uncomfortably close. I feel fantastic despite the closing wound on my stomach. Please do not tell me I had phase blood and was not awake to experience it. Their eyes meet and they look just a tad nervous. Very well, mistress, we won't tell you. Damn it. I say with feeling. I knew it was going to be delicious. I was truly looking forward to it. I'm sorry, lass, I should have been there. Bah, how could you know? I did not even warn you before rushing into danger. I only have myself to blame for this mishap. Ah. It hurts. Don't move, mistress. We only just removed the dagger. Ah, I wish I knew how to use it better. I got stabbed with my own blade. Not everyone can boast such an intimate knowledge of their weapon, mistress. Right. And what of my opponent? We have spread the ashes, lass. We are still unnoticed. I cannot believe it. I have used the full extent of my physical powers no less than 5 times in the past week, and Bingle and the others are still unaware of my true nature. It's miraculous, truly. If you say so, mistress, I personally believe the word you are looking for is gullible. As you say, Dalton. By the way, I missed the opportunity to say farewell to the adventurer. We are parting ways tomorrow after all. Ah, he did mention it. Let me see if I can wake him up, lass. I'm sorry for having you raise at such a time. Think nothing of it, Ms. Delaney. It is I who should have remembered your, condition. Besides, I am to blame for your next task. Are you sure that you do not want company? I can catch the next ship, I assure you. Oh, Mr. Bingle. Your solicitude moves me. I promise you that I will be well defended. Ah yes, your uncle assured me that you had past dealings with the savage and that he was a man of his word. Yes, and I will have a chaperone in the person of his sister. Possibly. Indeed. If Bingle eyebrows raise any higher, they will take flight. It is my fault for trying to make this situation anything less than absolutely scandalous. For the unmarried daughter of a good family to go gallivanting in forgotten ruins in the company of natives will never be acceptable in any country of the globe. At least Bingle does his best to mask his disapproval. Truly you have the soul of an adventurer, Ms. Delaney. I hope you will travel to Europe at some point. The Royal Museum would certainly be of interest to you. Why, I dare say you could teach the curator a thing or two. I misjudged him again. This man is too pure for his own good. The discussion ends in pleasantries and extended farewells, which I hate. Bingle is dejected and tears shine in his eyes. I don't understand why he would grow so attached in such a short time. Finally, dawn approaches and torpor makes me stumble. This pushes the poor gentleman out of the room so that I can rest, at last. And what is this? I ask as I get out of the carriage. We are in the middle of a meadow off the beaten path. Besides Loth's moving fortress there is also another one, an actual coach of outdated but solid make. That's your ride. I need to keep Asney and the wagon with me, you know. Yes, I was referring to the man. A prisoner kneels between Loth and Dalton. Sinead is standing 100 paces away, busy drawing a pile of something in a notebook. From the smell, I assume it to be carrion. We were set upon by bandits, if you would believe it. We thought you might want some breakfast. The captive's eyes widen in surprise. Having someone hunt for me feels like a bad habit to develop, but I would not want this man's life to go to waste. I can indulge for a night, I suppose. I draw closer and take in the man's appearance. Is this some sort of test? Is something the matter, Ari? Loth dear, do not tell me you have not noticed what is wrong. This man is no bandit. Excellent. Whispers the wind. We all turn to Sinead as he makes his way to us. I was afraid that you would simply miss it, Nightwalker. I am pleased that it is not so. As part of our agreement on safe passage, I believe I still owe you a bit of information, and so I have decided to turn it into an impromptu lesson. Consider it a mark of appreciation for yesterday's timely assistance. The Fae pockets his book and pen, then turns to me with his hands against the small of his back. There is an intensity and fire to him that even his gaunt figure cannot dim. He smiles, pleased like a well-fed cat. Trickery, lies, and deception. Those are the greatest tools of your kind. It is not the strength of your arms that moves nations against one another, but a well-placed letter, a forlorn love, or a single word at the right time. We both know why it must be so, do we not? It is so because we would lose ourselves, then lose our lives to a united humanity. There is no need to voice this, however. And how do they unravel, those plots and conspiracies? By the pull of a single thread. Find one inconsistency, unmask one perpetrator, and the whole scheme falls apart like a house of cards. This is why it is so exciting, no? Patience and meticulous planning against paranoia and observation. The eternal balance of the secret battlefields. Tell the class, O dweller in the dark. Tell us what you saw. And then I shall guide you on the next step. I am loath to indulge him, however I am quite eager to learn from his experience. This man smells like soap and his clothes are rumpled but clean. His beard is trimmed and I can smell wax. Expensive. His skin is too healthy for someone who spends much time outside in squalor. Finally, his self-discipline is admirable. He is ex-military and lives in town. This is a mercenary. Precisely. Observe the clean shoes as well. Amateurs always get the shoes wrong. And the guns. Too expensive. Too modern. Outlaw outfits rarely manage to obtain uniform gear. No, we have been deliberately attacked. Dalton and Loth are only surprised but for a moment. Soon, their gazes turn calculating and our prisoner fear turns to stark terror. And before you two lovable meatheads take out the pliers and hot coals, I would ask your patience. I wish to instruct the lady of the house in the subtle arts of suggestion. Oh, this is going to be good. What annoys me the most on this forsaken plane of existence is not the fact that your kind enslaved my own. It is not even my unfulfilled wish to regain my true power so that I may turn my jailers into quivering piles of flesh for all of eternity, no. What truly sets me off is how pathetically primitive your mind techniques are. You had millennia of existence to come up with something fun and still miserably failed. I know that good techniques are wasted on mortals, but still, for the love of art, you should not settle for mediocrity. It is thus my greatest pleasure to introduce you to this most hallowed of pursuit. Now, Nightwalker, how do you perceive your own charm? Like a rope. Sinead turns into the living embodiment of condescension. I need to learn how to draw properly so that I may immortalize the arrogance on his face, if only to have a frame of reference when I eat him later. A rope. Truly. I expected so little and am still disappointed. Well, do you notice that this rope changes as you proceed with the manipulation? Yes. It can be strong or weak, taut or loose, and it frays under pressure, just like my tolerance for rude behavior. Yes, a fair point. Obviously the strength of the bond reflects the depth of the relationship. Time and genuine care will improve it better than brute strength. The phrase appear when you force your victims to do something against their will. The more unreasonable or absurd the request, the more they will fight it. Even the friliest human mind will buckle and fight if you, say, ask them to kill their own child. I hope he does not speak from experience, that would be rather distasteful. You will, if you focus, notice colors and patterns in your rope. They are the marks of emotion. Not all bonds are the same. I find that love trumps all, though terror is a close second. Now, the basics. What do you think is the most important thing in manipulation? Subtlety. Wrong, though not entirely out of topic. The answer is, the other. You are not stabbing a target, you are painting a masterpiece. Every working is different even when it involves the exact same person. You need to understand your target to some extent so that you may obtain the best results. A proper session is 9 parts eloquence and 1 part magic. Without eloquence, you will not even understand which are the best questions to ask. Let me take an example. You, vassal, what is the first question you would ask our guest? Do you have mates and are they on their way here? Not bad. I'll give you 3 out of 10. The proper question is, am I in immediate danger? What tells you that his mates, as you call it, are the only things that threaten your life? What's your name, lad? How should I call you? The man struggles a bit before admitting to himself that this is not exactly vital information. Hendricks, sir. And Hendricks. Do you believe me to be in immediate danger? Silence. Maybe a little bit, eh? The man reluctantly nods. It's not that the knife would have saved you. You saw us fight. Do you believe yourself fast enough to capture a hostage? Indeed not. Now be a good lad and drop it on the ground. Dalton pales as an open straight razor drops from the captive's bound hands. Loth seems a bit displeased. First thing I'll teach ye when we're back is how you frisk properly. I'm sorry, sir. Now, do not let yourselves be distracted. Remember, open-ended questions. Do not let your preconceived ideas get in the way of the truth. Do not demand a flower when you could inquire about the whole bouquet. What are you doing to me? Asks the mercenary in a panic. Sinead considers him for a second as if remembering that this is an actual living being and not just the point of his demonstration. How does the puppet dare speak out of turn? Before things can get any further I step forward and our eyes meet. I smile kindly and brush a strand of errant hair behind his ear. Do not worry, my friends are a tad strange, but I am here for you. You are safe now as long as we get what we want. You want to help us, don't you? Help us then leave. Yes. Hendricks was it? Yes, ma'am. My name is Ari. These men here just want to protect me. Do you understand? Yes, Ari. You are strong. And courageous. Are you an army man? Yes, ma'am, I was a Marine before I signed up with this outfit. A Marine, eh? You served aboard a ship then? Yes, ma'am, I had the honor of serving aboard the USS Wasp. Indeed. And you signed with your outfit afterwards then? Yes, ma'am, 7 months ago, HRM. The pay is very good. You understand, I am sure. Of course. Soldiers are never well paid, even during a war, are they not? Absolutely, ma'am. A disgrace is what it is. And I understand that your current employer would better reward a man of your talents. Yes, they do what needs to be done and they know who to hire for that. Keep him talking, keep him saying yes, build a rapport, make him talk about himself. Those are all things that I learned from my dad and from Achilles. I understand now that this is the heart of charm. My ability to mesmerize is only one more tool in my arsenal, and if I am not careful it will become a crutch. I will have to use it now, however, if I hope to reach the next part of our conversation. I place my hands on the sides of his head. He is close now. My cool breath ruffles his dark hair. It sounds dangerous. Why yes, it is, obviously. You have been placed in danger, my good Hendrix, by incompetent people, I add with a frown. Yes, in danger. They don't know how to work with you. They didn't know how to use your skills. Yes. Yes. Don't you think it's unfair? You're so good at what you do, and they waste your potential so. Yes. Truly unfair. We should do something about it. We are friends, are we not? Yes. And friends protect and help each other. Yes. Yes, protect and help. So we should go and see them, those that sent you here. Yes, they are not far. Truly. Yes, they wanted us to bring you to them. Us as in. Either the bearded one or the blonde woman. And that is why you were hired? Yes. They showed themselves to you? Yes. 2 officers from the Continental Army. Bunch of pricks. I bet they looked arrogant and thought they were better than anyone else. Yes. Yes. Just because they are still in service. As if they didn't buy their rank. Ha! This place is desolate. How would you ever find them? Easily, Ari, just follow the road west until you come across an abandoned farm with brown brick walls and a burned-down barn. They are waiting there. Thank you, Hendrix. Gentlemen. I want to talk to those fine gentlemen promptly. Do hurry. Go ahead, lass. Bon appetit, mistress. Normally, feeding is an intimate experience. In this specific case, I make it quick and lethal. There is something empowering about draining someone to death while surrounded by 3 killers. Even if the act of drinking should make me vulnerable, I am not afraid, because they are on my side. All those present know what I am and accept it, well, all those that will survive anyway. I am making a statement and I like it. Out of those killers, I am also the deadliest. My feeding shows my lack of concern. It is as much a show of self-confidence as it is one of trust. I have achieved much in the past year. We are expected, gentlemen. Shall we? I lass, can't wait to see those twats again. Language. Yeah. We are polite monsters. Sinead kindly requests to sit next to me to continue the lesson, which leaves poor Dalton to eat our dust. No worries, mistress. Just make sure you learn all you can. Good vassal. We sit down next to Loth and Sinead immediately turns to me with a smile. You are a natural, Nightwalker, but you miss the point. You are far too ruthless, too result-driven. Charm is an art that should be enjoyed for the sake of it. How many masterpieces has my race created over the eons, games millennia-long won by those we never even suspected of playing. How pleasant the retelling. But I digress. It will come to you in time, I am sure. The young ones are always eager to go for the immediate reward instead of one matured to perfection. No matter. Now I shall teach you how to force a mood, then we shall move on to memory alteration and defense bypasses. The basics, really. We spend a good hour working on each other. Sinead feels like a genius swordsman fighting with a spoon. He is blocked from most of his capabilities and yet his skill is undeniable. His insights are keen beyond compare and I feel myself progressing with incredible swiftness. I believe that he simply is the best charm teacher on the planet at this moment, and my opinion of him improves drastically. We only stop when we are in sight of the abandoned farm mentioned by the dearly departed Hendrix. Excellent. Now let me see you apply this lesson to your next target. All four of us silently sneak through the overgrown edge of the farm. I lead the way by tracking the smell of fresh sweat and bad cologne while Sinead manifests a light that only we can see. Without surprise, we spot Captain Lons and his arrogant subordinate smoking nervously in the lunar shade of a great pine tree. I can smell the musk of their anxiety with the barest onset of panic. They are perfectly ripe. Someone wants them. I whisper. I think you need them for practice, mistress. Lessons applied on the spot are the easiest to remember. I concur with the mortal. I want to watch ye at work, lass, make it fun. I stealthily move up and around. They have horses in the distance and more interestingly, a few unlit torches on the ground. I don't like this, they are taking too long. Shut up, Jenkins. Aha. I did not know the other imbecile's name. Since they have their back to me, it is trivial to steal one of the torches as well as a match. It takes me a few tries to light one, however when the sound of burning sulfur reaches their ears, they turn just in time for flames to shed light on my pale visage. Both men freeze with their hands on their pistols while I smile cordially. I do so love this moment when it dawns on them that the nature of the hunt is not as it seems, that their condition is not that of the predator. My fangs are still hidden, and my claws tucked away, but they know. Deep inside, they know. Why the cold shoulder, gentlemen? Was I not expected? I walk slowly to the side as I speak. The predator in me taught me how to walk better, and it has become increasingly easier to bring this skill forward. My step is as assured as it is silent. I still walk as a human in public, but here I do not have to. I know the feeling I give, more sinuous. Predatory. Lethal. The men instinctively take a step back. Lons knows something is wrong. He is hesitating. I can hear the cogs turning in his panicked brain. We have been found out and the cell's words defeated, but why is this woman here? Why is it not Loth holding me at gunpoint? And why am I so afraid? I know the answer. Their well-honed instincts are telling them something is wrong while their societal mind tells them I am harmless. Well. Following Sinead's advice, I taste the connection. I still visualize it as ropes, but this time there is a hint of colors and more details on its strength. There is fear here, as well as disdain and mistrust. I could brute force attraction, perhaps, but it would defeat the purpose of the exercise. I am here to learn how to properly charm someone, and as my improvised mentor said, it is an art. You are under arrest. Now tell us where Loth Delaney is. The rope on Jenkins' side vibrates as a new emotion runs through it. I recognize it well. Discomfort and embarrassment. Under arrest? For what crime and under what authority, pray tell? Do you claim to serve justice as you lurk in the dark like a highwayman? You and your ilk may have fooled the Tillersons and most of the garrison, but I know better, oh yes. You are criminals and traitors of the vilest sort. So you are acting on your own. Breaking the law by ordering hired thugs to abduct citizens. Are those the actions of law-abiding men? Is this not the sort of thing our fathers fought to end not 2 decades ago? Yes. I knew it, Jenkins does not approve. With the lightest touch, I fan the flames of paranoia in both their hearts. It is difficult to affect 2 people at once, but I still manage it with patience and concentration. With minute detail, Lon's second reaches for his own gun while keeping a wary eye on his commanding officer. I do what is necessary to protect us from outside influence. Whatever are you talking about? Do not play coy with me. You are foreign agents. Those are preposterous accusations that you pulled out of your hat. You have no reasonable cause to insult us so. I laced the challenge with the barest hint of suggestion, just enough to make him choose outrage over caution. Schaefer was a spy. What? Oh my God, this is Bingle's fault. Again. Arg. Who? Flora Schaefer. The woman your British scoundrel followed was an asset for Prussia, and your so-called adventurer knew it. Why else would he track her all the way to this godforsaken mudhole? Love, of course, you monster. He was madly in love with her. I do not even need to act for Jenkins' discomfort to turn to doubt. Few people would be comfortable placing Bingle and intelligence, foreign and otherwise, in the same sentence. And what a strange thing to assert, Captain. Your covert actions do not strike me as those of a man mandated by the government. Where do these accusations come from, I ask? Not from our own spies, I'd wager. You. I do not have to justify myself before a scandalous woman of dubious origin. And now we have anger, the last primal dye to add to this first painting. It only takes a nudge to set the stone in motion. As a matter of fact, says Jenkins. I would like to know from whence this belief came, sir. You dare, adds Lons, incensed, I will not be questioned by the likes of you. Oh, this is almost too easy. The likes of me, screams the second man in outrage. You are V. Jenkins. People like me are what stands between our country and tyranny. We are the shield of civilization against the machinations of the old world and its darkest creations. So you admit being part of a conspiracy? I add with delight. It is no conspiracy. We protect the nation. In secret and against our will. That is a conspiracy. Ha! Who is the traitor now? The Brotherhood of the New Light is no group of rakes, you wench. And you? Lons takes a step back from his subordinate and his pistol sways towards the man's chest, but the righteous Jenkins has had enough. He jumps and manages to seize his opponent's arm. Both of them fall and struggle on the ground with grunts of effort and anger. I watch, fascinated. Admittedly, it got out of hand before I could learn more, but I don't care. This is beautiful. A shot rings under the canopy with the distinct sound of gored flesh. Ah, oops. Jenkins recoils in horror from the mangled form of his superior. Only a gurgling scream can be heard in the dead silence, coming from the ravaged half-face of his victim. The sinus and other cavities are exposed to the air. One eye has been burnt from its orbit, and as I stare, arterial blood splurts from the ghastly wound with every heartbeat. Ah, what a waste. With a step, I walk to Jenkins and use his pistol to finish off the captain cleanly, as the hunt demands. And now I have a whimpering and guilt-stricken human to handle. This is so annoying. He tried to kill you, he failed, and you killed him. The logic is sound. You were not even friends. Jenkins, it's over, calm down. It's over, it's all over. I committed a murder. No. Jenkins, look at me. There. Good. You defended yourself against someone you thought you trusted. Ha, he sobs, as if it mattered in a court of law. There will be no court of law. What? But I killed him. No, I killed him. I pulled the trigger. Jenkins stops to consider. I use this and the barest hint of suggestion to talk about conspiracy and duty, how Lon's associates must never know that they were found out, and some such nonsense about sacrifice, the good of the nation and whatnot. You are correct, Miss Delaney, I must uncover this vile plot. I shall return and head a discreet inquiry, starting with this traitor's personal correspondence. But what of the body? I came here to get answers, but my companions are not far behind. The mercenaries' ambush made them irate, as I am sure you understand. If you leave quickly I should be able to convince them to let you go, and take care of the remains beside. But what should I tell the others? Nothing. You know nothing of this man's desertion. I am sure that a thorough search of his personal effects will shed some light on the matter. Yes, you are correct. Thank you, Ms. Delaney, thank you. I shall return, and should I find something I will keep you and your uncle in the confidence. I will get to the bottom of this yet. Goodbye, Ms. Delaney. Cecily was right, you are a true heroine. Then the brave soldier takes his horse and leaves in a gallop. A true heroine, at least he did not mention God this time. As the sound of hooves pounding the ground recedes in the distance, I hear a slow clap. The trio of men exits the undergrowth with a grinning Sinead at the head. A capital performance, young Ariane. It is so pleasant to see a new talent enter the scene. A first rendition of The False Egress and The Turning of the Friend in a single night. That is 2 out of the 5 basic plots as described by Ericus the Elder in his famous anthology. You need but The Unrequited Love, Brother Bane, and The Apprentice, and you will have completed an important rite of passage for us Lycians. I am most pleased, most pleased. I am not sure what to do, so I curtsy awkwardly. This is the first time Sinead does not address me as Nightwalker, I believe. I will take the compliment. Let us travel together tonight so that I may impart a few more pieces of knowledge upon you, then we will split ways. Fate will bring us together again in the future. Of this, I am sure. Before we leave, we draw straws to determine who will bury the bodies, and I lose. From the others' innocent faces I highly suspect foul play, yet I decide not to press the issue. I made this body after all. As I dig in later, as we travel, I soak up Sinead's knowledge for all I can until dawn and exhaustion creep upon me. First comes the smell, then the buzz of flies, and last is the sight of a desiccated limb covered by loose strands of fabric. The bright colors of the improvised shrouds turn the bodies into macabre puppets. This one is a child, I note idly. They were the second to go, after the sick and wounded. Another one? Yes. We have been following the trail of the lost Three Rivers tribe for 2 days now, and my patience is running short. Neshoba insists that we catch up with them together, or the shaman who called for his help might simply attack me out of fear. I am concerned that by the time we reach them, there will be no one to interrogate. This splinter of the Muskogee people was expelled from their land by settlers a month ago, and since then they have wandered west. A vision sent to my, employer, I suppose, spoke of a terrible beast stalking them and devouring their members. I now believe that this is the least of their worries. We have come across no less than 10 cadavers in a single day of travel, and they all exhibited signs of starvation. The bodies were husks, curled up on themselves by a devouring pain. I do not envy their fate. We should really. For the last time, shaman, you can do this on the way back. The longer we delay, the more bodies there will be. He was just a child. Yes, I am sure that the adults wanted to live too. Listen, Neshoba, our arrangement was that I hunt a monster for you, not dig a mass grave. Ah, of course. You are correct, I am letting my emotions interfere with our task. There may be others that still draw breath. I want to roll my eyes, but I refrain. Neshoba is only mortal, and he at least did not involve God nor smother me with speeches on the importance of grief and other inanities. I can understand his anguish, although I do not share it. Mistress, we should stop the carriage here and continue on horse. Your Tushka is right. Road very small. Neshoba gained mastery of the tongue through a dream quest apparently. The contrast between his flawless Akkad and his broken English is jarring. Then you take the horses. There is something in the air, daughter of Thorn. We are close, and late. I sniff a bit and detect nothing but pine, mountain air and the stench of a decomposing body. Noticing me, Dalton adds. It is cold, mistress, unseasonably so. We are halfway up the Appalachians. Is this not normal? No, mistress. I already noticed that the place is too quiet. There are clearly magical shenanigans afoot and time is therefore of the essence. Then you take the horses and light the torches. I will scout ahead and guide you. Hurry. For an hour we climb up the twisted path. Scrawny pine trees and dried-up vegetation with the occasional corpse make the place desolate and the trip unpleasant. All my instincts tell me that this is not natural. There are no spells here, nor creatures nearby. The influence is more pervasive. It is like an old grease smell that would leave an oily taste on my tongue. We make good time despite my companion's exhaustion, and the path finally clears up as we reach a small plateau. Large slabs of granite covered with lichen alternate with diseased ferns. The remnants of a large camp can be seen in the center. There is a fire, still smoking a bit, as well as broken tents, pottery and baskets, and the shattered remains of a loom. No corpses. The others join me, and I raise my hand in warning. The plateau is rather small at the base. It could contain perhaps an encampment of 100 people at most. The stone plain climbs up to the left and falls steeply on our right. The few trees offer little protection against the chilling wind. Neshoba stays on his mare while Dalton arms himself before disappearing in the darkness. I track him by sound until he stops moving. That means he found a vantage point. I turn back to Neshoba and point to my nose, then to the left. I follow the stench of unwashed bodies and rancid sweat to a hollow in the face of the rock. I lean forward and look in. The light reflects off the eyes of a dozen people huddled under grimy covers. A dying fire barely emits any heat. The smell is eye-watering. Under the abominable odor, I detect a mage power gone rancid. It is close in nature to Neshoba but with a most sour aftertaste that reminds me of the fallen vampire I slew a week past. It appears we found our shaman. Whether they are still sane is open for debate. Neshoba approaches the hollow, then recoils in disgust. Perhaps I should have warned him of the revolting musk. I am much less affected by it than mortals, both by my nature and by virtue of not having to breathe. The shaman places a scarf around his head and starts speaking to the miserable band. His inquiries are first met with silence, then answered by a wizened woman with a bone headdress sitting at the back of the group. Her gnarly fingers grip a staff adorned with a crow's skull, and she speaks in a deep, gravely voice. I do not need to understand to feel the pain and terror in her tale. The remaining tribe members recoil under my gaze and refuse to look up. They feel like people who have given up on everything. They truly are a sorry lot, and I note in passing that there are no children left. This tribe is done for. Few could remain sane after going through what they suffered. Their best bet for survival would be to splinter and join other people, praying to their gods that they can forget the horror of their existence. Not that I care. I wait patiently until my companion is finished, and I note that it is lucky that the female shaman can speak Choctaw. It is easy to forget that the natives are made of several people with their own culture and dialects when most of us white folks refer to them as savages. Being a vampire has certainly changed my perspective on the matter. After a few minutes, Neshoba walks without a word to the center of the clearing and restarts the fire using kindling in a few pieces of dry fabric. Forgive me, daughter of Thorn. Could you kindly help me gather some wood? I ask this as a favor. He has no right to demand it, and his specific phrasing shows his acknowledgement. With that said, Neshoba is one of the few mortals I respect. He is also tired and lame. Very well. I can show kindness to those I favor. I also deduce from his anguished expression that the news is not good, and he may need some time to process it. We have found the survivors of the tribe and extracted the knowledge that we sought, after all. Some more delay is acceptable. I go around gathering firewood and, in some cases, making it. I find snapping the trunks of those weakened trees surprisingly easy. I suppose I have no more use for an axe, now. After 3 trips Neshoba informs me that I have gathered more than enough and places a large pot on top of the fire which he fills with water from his canteen. Should we not give them our rations if you intend to save them? Not directly. Those who starve have a weak stomach and eating solids could kill them. Their body can only tolerate a broth. I see. While we wait, you should share what you learned. Of course, daughter of Thorn. I have delayed but too long. They left their lands with little food and this was soon exhausted. They did their best to forage but without knowing the lay of the land, feeding 70 mouths is impossible. It is at this time of great distress that the beast struck. Like carrion birds circling a bleeding beast it harried them. One after the other, the hunters started to disappear. Of course, the tribe started to send people out in pairs or even larger groups. It was all in vain. The beast would then take more and the food situation kept deteriorating. First, the weakest members perished, then the children started dying too. Despair took over them. Women started to hunt as well, and some would come back hurt. A few people took their own lives. The survivors decided to flee up the mountain in hope that the beast would give up or that they could at least confront it. They built this fire you see here and waited. They say the beast came. They say it was taller than the tallest man and dressed in a patchwork of skins. That its face was like of a rock cleft in two and that its teeth were like the canines of a wolf. All of them. They say arrows and spears bounced off it like toys and that it killed a man with every swing of its mighty arms. They say they could no more stop it than they could stop winter. After it killed enough people, the rest fled higher up while this small group hid there in the hopes that it would look them over, or at least that the cave would be too small for its massive frame. That was yesterday. So, the beast is still up there. Yes, and so are the survivors if there are any. Then I'd better be on my way. Can you ward your fire? Yes, I shall do so immediately. Will it be enough? It seems this other shaman could not stop it. She is old, weakened by hunger and her tribe lost its land and its way. Her powers are so diminished they might as well be nothing. I should be able to keep a monster at bay until you return. If I am in danger, I will fire the pistol you lent me in the air. I hope for your sake that it will be enough. Before I leave, I discreetly reach Dalton's hideout and discover he hid himself with fallen branches. In the dark and covered with greenery, he is barely visible. I tell him not to engage unless he has no choice and follow the trail up the mountain. Without the mortals I can move much faster. A first inspection reveals no tracks, so the creature probably has some way to mask its presence. That would also explain why no hunter managed to escape it. Undeterred, I rush up the steep incline with as much celerity as I can without leaving myself open. In 2 minutes, I find my first body. It is a man, quite old. As expected, he is covered with bite marks that show a jaw several times larger than a human's. The beast devoured the muscles on the legs and arms, the back and most of his entrails. I am about to leave when I notice something peculiar. There are no defensive wounds and the reason is made clear when I push the head to the side with my boot. The man has been brained by something blunt before being devoured. My theory of the monster being able to hide increases and I feel the onset of paranoia as all my senses grow to their sharpest. I even spot rabbit's fur in the hunter's hand, proof that the beast left nothing that could be easily swallowed. A few meters away I find a mother and her child, still holding hands. They were killed the same way. I continue quickly, making a conscious effort not to run in a straight line and checking regularly behind me. I see nothing out of the ordinary, only abandoned personal effects and a mess of human tracks. In a few more minutes, I notice embers glowing in the distance. The night is silent. I approach from a side. Nestled among trees are the remains of the last campfire of the tribe. There is nothing left, not even a body, but the smell of old blood is pungent, and after circling I see no tracks going further up. The lack of remains worries me a little. What manner of beast can do that? I walk warily forward. The unnatural stillness of this place is getting to me. Besides the freezing wind, nothing stirs, not even the grey ash covering everything like stained snow. Massive bloodstains dot the sight. They are only a few hours old. I am about to circle around to look for tracks, hints, anything, when I spot something among the embers. Curious, I approach. A branch snaps behind me. I roll forward and slice behind me at the same time, only to hit air. There is nothing to see, which means I turn, claws up and ready. Still nothing. I circle. Still nothing. The quiet sound of a breathing rabbit comes from the pines. I am jumping at shadows. I still move in the clearing, so if the creature tries to rush me, I would still have some time to react. This foe is proving to be troublesome. It can hide and is probably quite strong and resilient. The dagger should be enough to hurt it, and am confident in my speed, however it will be of little use if I am caught off guard. Tracks on the dust show signs of a massive scuffle. So many human feet, and what is this near the campfire? Bones. Human bones. Hundred of bones shattered, their marrow sucked dry, as if. Well, that is curious, and illogical. Wait. No, it could not be. And yet. The hunters disappearing one by one, caught by surprise. The lack of anything but human tracks. The remaining tribesmen slaughtered in one spot instead of fleeing a large opponent. Cooked human bones. I need to be sure. I jump in the bush looking for a very specific set of tracks, and eventually, I find it. Multiple humans heading down the path. Now that I know what to look for, it is easy to notice. God bloody damn it. Played for a fool. Arg. I run down the mountain like all the hounds of hell are on my heels. Come on, come on, come on. Let me be there in time. Let me be there in time. A gunshot. That is not a pistol but Dalton's rifle. I move even faster. My chest is almost to the ground, and the very wind pushes my hair away and back. With every step I dig furrows in the loam and fly forward 10 paces. Faster. Faster. I will be on time. I'm here. In a single moment I spot Neshoba in the middle of a magical circle with his pistol discarded on a rock. He is surrounded by the cannibals who silently slaughtered and devoured their own kin. It appears they lost their humanity in the process. Long, gaunt forms of white skin and bones are now revealed by their discarded blankets. The little flesh they have is twisted and taut like steel cable. Their face is human down to their upper lips, then it turns nightmarish. They bear distended maws of crooked and yellowed teeth to my companion's ward. 5 of them press at the edge of a shimmering circle. The Three Rivers shaman is standing at the edge, still clad in her rotten regalia. She is dancing and croaking while waving her ominous staff. A 7th abomination is prone on the ground with a smoking hole through the torso. Dalton's handiwork. He must have shot as they were creeping on the Choctaw man. There is little time. I move faster than I ever have. I need to push them out of the way. I reach the first creature without slowing down and punch it in the gut. With a ghastly sound of shattered bones, the thing folds around my stretched hand like a wet towel. The momentum catapults it against 2 of its fiendish allies, and they are smashed backward like pins. I finish the move by throwing my entire weight in a swipe. The first target's chest disappears in a curtain of gore. An instant later, the 5th creature's head just disappears. I finish the sequence with a silver throwing knife that shatters the enemy mage's headdress and sends a splatter of blackened blood flying. This will do for now. I crash into the thicket with all the subtlety of a herd of buffaloes. A second gunshot guides me to Dalton. As I arrive, He unloads his last pistol in the face of the last standing foe. He must have missed the brain as the creature jumps on him with claw extended. Oh no, you don't. Puny weakling. Bottom feeder. Scum. You dare raise your hand against he who is mine. I dig 2 talons in the thing's neck and swing it over my head with a furious roar, sending it careening head over heel. The creature's short flight is interrupted by a large stone on which his head bursts like an egg, then a trunk, before finishing in a ravaged heap on the ground. Dalton is fine, if a bit stunned by my sudden appearance. I sprint back to the clearing and take out my dagger. I quickly finish off 2 wounded before turning to the enemy shaman. It is pressed against the wall of the cliff by Neshoba's staff. Its filthy yellow talons dig into the rock and her shrieks make my ears ring, yet my ally does not budge. So, you want to interrogate it? I know all there is to know. I kept the thing alive so that you could feed. Do I have to? It reeks like a pox-ridden pigsty. Neshoba glares at me in silence. I suppose I should not behave like a spoilt child. I can certainly use the power. I grab the thing's arm. It tries to fight me, but compared to the fallen vampire I faced a few days ago, I feel I am wrestling a toddler. I still break all its fingers for good measures. Why take a risk? I bite down. I am so hungry, so hungry. The pain in my belly is relentless. It digs into my entrails with its serrated fingers. There is nothing but the devouring agony. I led them here. I led them to their death. We should have fought and died on our feet like warriors, not hunted and starved like animals. The children, what have I done? The visions I sent were sent too late. By the time the tortoise shaman of the Choctaw comes, there will be nothing left of the Three Rivers clan. Today I ate my finger. The pain of tearing down the limb was less than that of starvation. It was hot and juicy, if terribly bony. Now I remember what food feels like. I feel clarity of thought drift away. There are others like me, who tasted the forbidden flesh. I can feel their eyes on me and on each other. I do not want sanity. Sanity is what brought me here in the first place. Let me be mad. Let me be lost, but above all, let me be sated. We are silent. There is no need to speak, just as there was no need to listen to the dying cries of our kin. We are still starving despite the heaps upon heaps of flesh we pushed down our gullets. It is fine. Tomorrow we go down the mountain. There will always be more villages and more hunting parties. Always. I back up from the shriveled form of my victim. That was strange, though not entirely unpleasant. Both sour and tasty like pickled fish, and the power was good. On par with an experienced mage, I would say. I suspect Neshoba is interested in my vision, so I share it with him as Dalton joins us. Yes, daughter of Thorn. I know of what you speak. They are called Wendigos. I heard the tale of a mighty hunter called Enwi the Slayer who was the first to find them and purge them from this world. I never thought the stories were true. Neshoba limps back to a stone and sits wearily. I must remember that they traveled through the day and it is now past midnight. They will need to sleep soon. They are hunger, he continues, they are what happens when men and women succumb to it. Those of the stories were lazy hunters who would take the wives of their victims as their own. This was not the case here. The Three Rivers tribe fell because it was chased away. They fell because they chose to flee as an act of desperation. The shaman is having a moment, which I can respect. Dalton has tied a scarf around his nose and busies himself piling the Wendigos while I feed the fire and wait. There will be more of them. Every month, your ships spill their cargo of men and machines on these shores. We are getting pushed west slowly but surely. Will you fight? He scoffs. Some of us will. At least, they will die on their feet. There is no facing your people's weapon of fire and steel, not without our own. We would need schools and mines and factories and armories to compete, and when we have all of this, we will have become you. This is a tide that cannot be stopped. Powerlessness. I know this feeling all too well. We achieved something today. A drop in the ocean. Those we saved may one day join the ranks of those we just freed. I wish I were drunk so I could join in his melodrama. You think too highly of yourself, shaman of the Choctaw. We are droplets ourselves. Did you not say that we were weeding roots of destruction? That is what we did tonight. Do not look at what you cannot change and despair. It serves no purpose but to invite madness. Forgive me if I cannot appreciate your perspective while I stand in the ashes of 70 men, women, and children. I shrug. I cannot share his emotions and I would not care to, but I can respect his grief and give him the time he needs. The hunt is done, after all. It was interesting although the prey was a disgrace to its own kind. I assist Dalton in building a funeral pyre. Thankfully material is abundant. Our native companion joins us as we light it. For a moment, all is quiet, then he starts singing. I do not understand the words and I do not need to. The song carries regret and impotent rage at first, then melancholy and finally, a measure of peace. We stay there watching warm winds carry motes of light to the sky. It no longer feels so cold anymore. Somewhere below us, an owl hoots and the fire crackles. At some point, the two men fall asleep. I make sure they are covered and when dawn approaches, I stand up to go. As I take a step, Neshoba shifts in his covers. Thank you, Ariane. I nod and leave. I want to talk to the author and pledge him my soul. And my wallet. When we return to Higginsville, Sinead is long gone. Loth does not tell me where he went and I do not ask. The Lycian prince did leave a few things for me, the first being a letter. My dear Ariane. You are not a bad sort for a nightwalker, and I am sure we shall meet again after you have grown into your new self. I look forward to it, and I have left you 2 things as a gesture of my appreciation. The first is a primer on the proper use of charm including quite a few tricks, meditation techniques, and my favorite subtleties. I wrote it in the space of 2 days as if in a trance. When we next meet, we shall have a little contest that I may see what you learned. The second is half a gift and half an apology. I realize that you may not have drunk my blood the way you wanted it, and so I had Loth draw a smidgen of my essence and capture it in the precious receptacle you will find attached. Keep it on you, always. If one day you are in danger of dying, no matter how grievous your wounds, drink it and it will undoubtedly save your life. This contains the essence of a fey prince, given freely. Do not squander it. I will know. Until we meet again, Poppet. Sinead. I resolve to keep the tiny silvery tube around my neck, always. It hangs next to the pendant containing my father's message. Those 2 are my lifelines, one for the body and one for the soul. The following months see us fall into a healthy routine. I spend most evenings helping Loth with various tasks related to research, both magical and mundane, as well as metallurgy. I even assist him as a nurse when his hospital sees an increase in traffic. My complete lack of queasiness is put to good use as my dear friend would insist that some of the tasks I am requested to perform will forge the character. I soon learn that the expression is a hypocritical substitute for, it is revolting, and now that I have an underling I don't have to do it anymore. Loth also tests the limit of my physical power by, naturally, having me carry heavy loads for him. His final conclusion is that I am as strong as a gravid troll and marginally better looking. How he manages to sweet-talk all the county's widows into his bed with that tongue of his, I shall never know. The rest of my nights are spent in various activities. I continue my study of the Western Standard rune system and look into several forms of shamanism as well. I also pick up drawing as a hobby despite Jimena's advice to try music. My disastrous attempt to practice the violin at the tender age of 7 still weighs heavily upon my soul. I work on movement by running around the woods as fast as I can and through knife throwing and marksmanship training with Loth. Dalton adjusts to his new duty with perfect ease. He has a way of appearing unimportant to people unless he wants to be noticed that makes him fit everywhere, and when he needs to make an impact his dark charisma is enough. He quickly endears himself to both the male and female population of our little town. The only issue is the rumors surrounding us, not that I mind much. His presence makes bounty hunting trivial and fun. No longer do I have to work around my lack of acceptance. I only handle the fun part and my vassal dutifully takes care of the rest. Many times, we cooperate to capture our mark in an entertaining way. This quickly gives him an ambivalent reputation, as well as a lot of respect. I also use this opportunity to practice both senses and charm. We continue like this for a while until I receive a letter from my dear Jimena. My dearest Ariane. I cannot express the many emotions I went through upon learning of your latest adventures. A pierced heart. A rogue vampire. I have not felt this anxious since I helped in your escape. Please show some consideration for my poor heart, young one, and some more to yours as well. A fledgling is not supposed to have theirs destroyed, and particularly not twice in the span of a single year. Truly, if you were not of the Devourer's line, I fear we would have lost you already. Before all else, I should advise you on things I would have mentioned in previous letters, had I imagined that you would challenge courtiers trained in the arts of war. Those matters concern armed conflicts between our kind. The way to fight a vampire differs from the way we fight anything else. There are very few beings that can match our speed, therefore vampires slain in battles with other races are taken down by overwhelming damage. Vampires, on the contrary, will always aim for the heart first and foremost. Even the smallest wound will spell your end. When we next meet, I shall train you in ways to protect yourself through martial techniques. Until then, do not practice mortal methods as you will develop bad habits. We do not move nor fight like humans, and thus their arts are not suited to us. It will be easier if you come to me with no preconceived ideas. There are ways to improve yourself, however. One of them you already know. Those treks under the moon you mentioned will help you get accustomed to your body and will improve your natural dexterity. When it comes to moving, follow your instincts. I also strongly advise you to wear a suit of armor around your torso when you go to battle. You will find a blueprint for a standard Harcourt chest protector enclosed in this envelope. I am sure that your friend can assist you in its making. It bears repeating that your bloodline can progress fast if fed with the blood of mighty foes. This makes your natural abilities on par with an experienced courtier. It does not give you the experience of one. The creature you faced was unarmed and half-mad, and so it was not in any way equal to the manner of opponent you would face, should a clan decide to take you down. Should you be discovered, I beg of you, flee. As long as you leave their territory, the other side will likely abandon pursuit and merely report your presence to the night chapter in Boston. I hope you heed my warning. Now that this is out of the way, allow me to be the first vampire to congratulate you on reaching adulthood. Ah, but I remember it as if it were yesterday, a timid and lost woman standing awkwardly in my training ground. Even then, your personality shone bright and set you apart from the rest. And now, you have come into your own. My heart fills with pride, and I wish I could celebrate this auspicious night with you. Now you are a courtier, and do not let anybody tell you otherwise. This means that the next step in our plan is a go. In 1810, just over 5 years from now, there will be a major conclave of all vampires in North America. I shall use this opportunity to petition the current speaker for your induction. If it is accepted, we will be allowed to register you as a member of an independent house under the Accords, and you will be beyond the reach of the Lancaster forever. Constantine will surely give you a task or two as reparation for being on his land illegally, though I would not worry about it too much. He is known for being a tolerant ruler, and the new continent is as much a place of opportunity as it is one of refuge. I am pleased to learn that you want to use your time to build both expertise and capital. The pursuit of excellence is a defining attribute in the followers of the path, the faction the Cadi's clan belongs to. As a new vampire, I would advise you to learn an instrument. Art helps us maintain our humanity and music most of all. You also need to consider building your wealth. As you can imagine, mortal institutions are ill-suited to our needs, and so I advise you to travel to the port city of Savannah, where you will find a small branch of the Rosenthal Consortium. They are a neutral entity in the supernatural world, and they are as reliable as they are efficient. Open an account with them and remember that we all started small. Lastly, we are fairly certain that the Order of Gabriel no longer keeps an eye on your father, so you may now correspond more freely. Ainsa and I miss you, Ariane. When time permits, I shall meet you again in person. I must be careful as most of my actions are currently under scrutiny. Indeed, I have been given a chance to regain my status and join the ranks of the knights once more. My next mission will carry me to the Everglades and last for a few months. If all goes well, I will be given a task, and upon its completion, I would be reinstated. I cannot express how important this is for me, my dear. Wish me luck. With sisterly love. Jimena de Cadiz. September 7, 1804. February 1805, Savannah, Georgia. The Rosenthal Consortium building is fairly small, barely bigger than my childhood home, and yet it manages to draw attention from a full block away. I would call the local architecture basic, only because I am feeling generous. The most common adornment is a coat of paint slapped on the ubiquitous horizontal planks, even for public places such as the town hall. The noble institution's house is orange. Yes, orange. Its walls are made entirely of vertical carved white stones and bricks of the fiery color. It stands like a jewel, or a pustule, amongst its prude neighbors. The barred windows and the reinforced gates only reinforce the impression of being an outsider. Without a word, Dalton fades into the shadows while I approach the guard. He pretends to ignore me until politeness demands a reaction. He looks quite solemn, dressed all in black with a white shirt, and his pale face sports an impressive beard. I smell gunpowder from him and, quite interestingly, spelled items, though he himself is not a mage. I taste it and recognize a specific aura. When the man meets my eyes, my suspicions are confirmed. The protections are designed to ward off influence, which extends to charm. Finally, an occasion to practice some of the tricks Sinead mentioned. The rope between us glances off a smooth shield. I slowly change our bond's color by matching it to his current mood. He is distrustful yet unworried. In the space of half a second, the string becomes one with the shield and goes through. I give the man a polite smile with just a bit of suggestion, which he returns. It worked. Good evening, sir. Is this the Rosenthal Consortium, Savannah branch? Indeed, miss, and we would be happy to assist. Unfortunately, we are closed. That is fine, I will work on him until he believes me important enough to warrant special treatment. That is a shame, I was led to understand that you would operate after sunset. Or so Jimena claimed. The guard's reaction is unexpected. He pales visibly and his pleasant smile evaporates. Ah yes, my apologies madam, we were not expecting you. He turns to the entrance and bangs a pattern on the door. He then takes out a key from a recess in his coat and manages to turn it in after a few nervous attempts. The door opens invitingly. Go ahead, madam. Hum. How queer. Did they infer my nature from one comment? This would not be a trap, would it? Unlikely. Jimena would not have sent me here without a warning otherwise. I walk in a beautiful lobby. I thought the exterior gaudy and I was wrong. The floor is entirely made of polished black stone with a massive white circle 5 paces across in its middle. Golden runes I do not recognize surround its edge. The walls are of the same black stone at the base, before going up in shades of bronze. The room is narrow and leads up to a high mahogany counter, behind which a teller is hard at work. Apart from the desk, there are only a few chairs and a medieval piece of armor holding a halberd as visible furniture. Beside the door I just crossed, there is also one on the left, another on the right wall as well as, curiously, a barred window. I also spot a corridor on the far wall as well as stairs going up. I immediately stop. This place is packed with magic. I already triggered some sort of alarm when I crossed the threshold which could not be avoided. I can also feel a significant amount of power coming from the circle, the suit of armor, the many doors and surprisingly, the counter. The man behind it stands up, notices me and freezes. The barred window to the right opens to let another frowning man with a gun look through it. Upon seeing me, he also stops in his tracks. Well, this is rather awkward, is it not? I am here to open an account. I would rather make my intentions clear before the set of armor starts moving on its own. I. The man behind the counter is what I would expect an accountant to be. He nervously tries to replace the monocle on his nose, but his trembling hand knocks it out of the orbit and it falls against his chest. Silence fills the place. I wait. Soon, footsteps can be heard from the stairs. They are slow and measured. A moment later, a man calmly reaches inside the room and walks in my direction. He is slightly shorter than me, with combed-back black hair and piercing gray eyes. His traits are sharp, aristocratic, and his expression is that of polite respect. His black suit is exquisitely tailored and shows understated good taste. He is also a courtier, a powerful one. I would place him at the edge of something greater. His aura is also one of the most disciplined and controlled I have ever felt. Greetings, milady, and welcome to our humble establishment. I am Isaac of the Rosenthal. I welcome you here tonight. Thank you, Isaac. I am Ariane of the, Nirari clan. A complex set of emotions moves his otherwise unflappable countenance. Truly. Splendid, splendid. It is an honor and a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance. Please, follow me. I take his invitation and we walk side by side. You could hear a pin drop here as neither of us makes a sound when our feet touch the ground. He leads me up to the second floor and to his office at the end of an alley. We enter a spacious room lit by a single candle. A large window situated at its back gives us a view of rooftops and the clouded sky. Two comfortable leather chairs are on opposite sides of a large desk that speaks of hard work and obsessive organization. Stacks of folders are neatly arranged in wooden dividers and not a single document is currently out in the open, a necessity when one's guest can see so clearly. Bookshelves filled with writings on law, economics, and philosophy give the place a cozy feeling. Take a seat. Make yourself comfortable. He sits with dignity and gazes at me for a while, then leans forward with mild interest. Before we begin, I would like to ascertain your identity. Would you mind, forgive my impertinence, would it be acceptable for you to show me your fangs? I wait for signs that he insulted me before admitting that this is not an unreasonable request. I am not carrying identification papers after all. Yes, all 8 of them. Incredible. I had the honor of seeing your master half a century ago in Geneva. He caused quite the ruckus. I was told he tends to do that. He gives me a pointed look. Yes indeed. An apt euphemism. Let me just say that I am delighted to see you. We were informed that Lord Nirari had sired a new spawn and I was rather miffed when I heard you were slain. Rumors of my demise were exaggerated. So it would seem. And now you come to us to open an account, bringing the number of Nirari holders to 3. This is a historic moment for my clan. Yes. Before we begin, I had several questions if you would not mind. Of course not. If it pleases you, I can explain a list of our services, terms and conditions. Then, I would be pleased to go into more details if there is anything you would like to know. That sounds perfect. First, however, I want to make something clear. My existence is not, let us say, approved by the current authorities of this land. Could this become a problem? Ah, yes. Your concerns are understandable. We are a fully independent entity with ties to all governments and no obligation to enforce their rules. Privacy is valued enough that our autonomy is protected by consensus. As such, not only can I offer you our full range of services, I can also guarantee that your very existence will be kept confidential until you see fit to, enter society as a debutante. His expression is solemn. That is reassuring, sir. If you please, I would like to know what services you propose. Excellent, excellent. We offer a full range of financial services. This includes all manner of personal banking, assets and wealth management, transactions and safekeeping. We also offer legal advice, administrative assistance such as new identities for our long-lived patrons, which I assure, you will be needing at some point. We also deal with matters of insurance and inheritance. Isaac's full presentation lasts an hour and is rather exhaustive. I doubt that I will need ownership of a company transferred between two fake identities anytime soon, though it is still good to know that the possibility exists. In the end, I choose to create a checking account and invest the rest of the money I brought in a fund with a high, if volatile return rate. The crafty man offers me access to a strongbox as a commercial gesture which I accept but do not make use of. My most precious belongings all fit around my neck and in holsters after all. I go down and signal Dalton to join me with our stash. I have almost $400 in total from bounty hunting and helping Loth with various tasks. It is easy to save when one does not need to spend on food and lodging, even after granting my vassal a fair share. Isaac invites me back up as we wait for my stash to be counted. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions. Naturally, Miss Ariane, naturally. Though I must warn you that I may not share anything that would violate the privacy of our other customers. I understand. You have confirmed that I have a sibling, and I would like to know if there is anything you could tell me about them. Yes, easily. I forgot that you have been so far isolated from politics. Your brother is Svyatoslav. He is currently the most dominant figure in St. Petersburg. Truly. Is Russia part of one of the main factions I heard about? Isaac thinks a bit before continuing. Clans seldom respect borders, Miss Ariane, therefore we never refer to ourselves as Portugal or Switzerland, but by clan or alliance name. First question, and I already revealed myself as a yokel. Well done, Ariane. Russia is home to two factions. One of them is a gathering of bandits, witches and cultists and is an alliance more in name than in reality. The second group is decidedly martial, and their closest allies are the knights. They call themselves the Vityatsi and dedicate themselves to the culling of dangerous magical fauna. I had the opportunity of visiting their headquarters in 1756 and I admit to being pleasantly surprised. You have a good memory. It is the defining trait of my bloodline. We all have a tidy mind served by an eidetic memory. Forgive me for saying so, sir, but I have only joined you for less than 2 years and there are already many things I would rather forget. Not at all, not at all. Fortunately, we are able to take some distance from our worst recollections. Else it would make pain resistance training unbearable, I'm afraid. The delivery was so deadpan that for a moment I believe he spoke in jest, yet his face betrays nothing. I think Isaac just opened up to me a little bit. We are getting distracted. Your brother acts as a buffer between local groups of interest. His friendship with various key decision-makers usually suffices. When it does not, well, he reminds everyone of the dangers of provoking him. Is he that strong? He is 7 centuries old, miss, he was a prince of the Kievan Rus Confederation. Wow! If he lived for that long and fought as much as I believe he did, then he must be a force of nature. This is my reality now, something I forgot for not spending time with my kin. Some of us have lived to see Rome fall. Perhaps they even participated. I could send him a message on your behalf, if you wish. Do I want to meet someone who would remind me of Master? That will not be necessary, thank you. I hate him and love him and hate him and I am being a bad girl. I should gather enough money to get a ship, look for his resting place and dig him out so that we know. Damn it. Miss. It is nothing. Is there a way for you to petition the Speaker, so that my presence here is, shall we say, legalized? Unfortunately, we are not a signatory of the Accords. We cannot petition them for what is essentially an internal conflict within Clan Lancaster, if we are being strict. We can, however, pass along a message. I can tell you now that without anyone to vouch for you, getting recognized as an independent house under the Accords will be difficult. What are the Accords? They are a set of rules regulating the rights and duties of all vampires residing on the new continent. They are rather lax. Most of them focus on protecting individuals and preventing distant conflicts from spilling over here. Are you aware that the three alliances are at war? Yes, although I do not know the specifics. And neither do we, as alliances shift long before news reaches us. Under the Accords, local branches are forbidden from participating, and so far the locals have managed to remain uninvolved. How are those rules even enforced? The current Speaker, Lord Constantine, has a handful of troops and can call some more. No local clan has reached a critical mass yet, and none are capable of offering a real challenge. For now. Fascinating. This place is really meant for exiles and refugees. I meant no disrespect. I have no idea if Isaac is offended. The man has as many facial expressions as a marble statue. This would be unnerving were it not for my habit of doing the same to Loth. None taken. Truth be told, I am here on vacation. On vacation? Truly. Truly. I look pointedly at the meticulous desk and piles of papers. This man could visit anything from the Niagara Falls to Key West, and he chooses to stay here and do paperwork. In Savannah of all places. The silent watcher saved me from this lunatic. I was aware that bankers work hard, of course. That is the first time I have seen a real display of emotion from him. Even then it was mild, at most. I see. I only wish my country had more to offer than this. Not to worry, I have my books. The only thing I was missing was the company of my kind, and so your visit is most fortuitous indeed. Say. Yes. No, I should not. I am being terribly unprofessional. I beg your forgiveness. How queer. This is unexpected. This man came out as extremely polished and, should I say, a bit pompous, and now he is talking like a rake about to pull some villainous scheme. I am intrigued. Isaac, now that our business is done, I ask you, not as customer to member of the esteemed House of Rosenthal but from one lone vampire to another, what is it? Out with it. He looks flustered. Well, HRM. Let us finish here and then perhaps we could resume this conversation outside. Curiouser and curiouser. The unfazed banker is suddenly losing his composure. All my expectations are destroyed. I follow the odd man outside through the lobby and out the main door with Dalton by my side. The guard gives a surprised look, though he refrains from commenting. We soon arrive in a small flower garden, empty at this time. Isaac turns towards me and stops. He strikes me as someone who dispenses words carefully, therefore I give him the time he needs to formulate what I am sure will be a request. Vampires cannot be supplicants because they can defend themselves, therefore it needs to be an equal trade between peers. I look forward to hearing it. Finally, Isaac takes a deep breath just as Dalton starts to look a bit worried at our unnatural immobility. My patience is going to be rewarded. I am sure it will be quite a tale. Ariane of Clan Nirari, I would like you to provide support as I kill someone. Forget about gentle reserve, this man is utterly scandalous. Who would ask something like that on the first night? This is bold, quite bold in fact. Isaac. How outrageously daring of you. His face scrunches in displeasure. His shame must be great indeed for him to display it so. I have never hunted in my whole life. What? He what? A vampire that never. Are my ears deceiving me? Surely you are jesting, Isaac. You mentioned being alive in 1756. I refuse. I simply cannot accept that is impossible. Ah, your reaction does not surprise me. On the contrary, it shows you are the best person on the planet to fulfill my request. Isaac. Hunters is what we are. You cannot not hunt. Itga. My companion smiles sadly, and it occurs to me that in my surprise, I have insulted him. Forgive me, Isaac, I meant no disrespect. I assumed you had someone specific in mind. Yes, although I do not know who, or more importantly, how many. What would you ask in return for this service? I know not what you can offer. How about this? Shall you manage to garner enough support to petition house status, and should you commit no atrocities, I will add my personal recommendation to the pile. Although I am not part of the Accords, the reputation of one such as I would be of use to you. I do not know the value of this recommendation. I will only consent to a fair deal. Isaac and I are not friends like I am with Jimena, therefore I owe him no favor but the courtesy of listening. When your petition is heard, your survival shall be made public with all the consequences that entails. When the Lancaster inevitably seek to regain custody over you, they will not be able to invoke your master's agreement with them since you successfully escaped their grasp. However, they shall surely claim that you are a danger to the community and yourself and must be placed under strict control. There's obviously, as they managed to prevent you from rampaging for 6 months. There will be a trial of sorts during which I shall attest that we met, and that you were polite and composed. Constantine has a rational mind and we have a reputation for impartiality. He will know that both the Lancaster and your allies are biased. We of the Rosenthal bloodline are known for our reliability and impartiality. This will have a major impact on his decision, I assure you. Please do note that if you start slaughtering villages, I will no longer stand at your side. You understand, I am sure. You are offering a conditional, future and intangible reward to an immediate service. I solemnly swear that I believe it to be to your advantage. For anyone else I would refuse, however a vampire that swears an oath is telling the truth. Isaac does believe it to be to my advantage and his knowledge of our political system far outstrips mine. I would be wise to take this into consideration. I accept. Excellent. He does not move. So. Who are we killing? I ask with burgeoning impatience. Right, yes. For the past 3 months, women have been disappearing around the city. At least 7 of them, though it would be difficult to know for sure due to the low social standing of the victims. Normally, I would not be involved, because we operate under strict principles of neutrality, and because my master is particularly insistent on us never fighting. Truly. Yes, this is our tradition, our values. We are meant to be withdrawn from the conflicts of the world and focus on arbitration and preservation. Our power comes from our wealth and alliances, as such we are encouraged not to draw blades ourselves. That sounds tedious, and frustrating. It would be an impossibility for you, Ariane. Your line is not called that of the devourer for nothing. Your extra fangs that allow feeding in the midst of battle are for one thing only, to keep killing, again, and again, until you are the last one standing. Hold on, are you telling me that only we can devour? Indeed. As we are meant to be the depository of knowledge and records through our superior mind, you are made to stand alone against all. It does not seem to be going well for us. That would be because your master cares not about you, unfortunately. In any case, I have not yet managed to hunt from one end to another. Master would disapprove. They do not have to know. Oh, she will. The consortium's mortal employees report to her. Being spied upon by one's own followers. This is absolutely unthinkable. How can he not slay them, unless he is compelled to follow his master's orders? Should you not be more worried? Listen, I have served the clan faithfully for more than 70 years. I obeyed every order without fault and made major contributions to our success. Now there is a killer on the loose in MY territory, and my servants have so far failed to apprehend them. So, I will solve the problem myself. If my master has objections, she can voice them when I return. 13 months from now. Your defiance is admirable, I suppose, though I hope I will not share your punishment, as your accomplice. Ariane, I am sorry there is no pleasant way to put it, you are not important enough to warrant her attention. Well, that is humbling. Now that I am finally reconnected with other vampires, I am reminded that I am but a discarded ex-fledgling in a frontier region with no connections and no power. Perhaps living isolated for so long has made me forget where I currently stand in the knight's pecking order. I find myself wanting to remedy that at some point in the future. I will not stay at the bottom. I refuse. Very well. Now, as I mentioned, the latest disappearance happened at nightfall. If we hurry, we may be able to gather clues from the crime scene. Clues? Crime scene? I am not sure I follow. We shall inspect ere the victim disappeared and infer the nature and identity of the culprit from things he may have left behind. Oh, I believe I understand. You are taking a scientific and methodical approach to crime solving. Yes. Indeed. You do not. No. This must be necessary in big cities but is superfluous in smaller communities. If the town you live in has 200 inhabitants, the list of potential lawbreakers is extremely short. It is either one of the handful of troublemakers or a traveler passing by. A quick interrogation is normally enough to clear any doubts. Naturally, yes, naturally. I hope it will be that easy this time. Let us depart promptly. Shadowed by Dalton, we arrive in the poorer area of Savannah 15 minutes later. The houses there grow like uneven teeth. Some are barely bigger than shacks. The smell of humans and their refuse is mitigated by the cold, though not much. Behind that I also smell wood smoke, soap and food. We walk to a small home, barely more than one room under the scrutiny of all those we come across. Our clean appearance and wealthy clothes set us apart at a time of suspicion. This is not right. We are meant to stand out like roses in a sea of grass, not like sore thumbs. The whole process makes me uncomfortable and only the urgency of our task prevents me from asking Isaac for the opportunity to get changed. We stop in front of an edifice of unpainted and unadorned wood and stone no different from the others around it. The sickly browns and grays of what passes as architecture here is so dreary that I believe putting the entire district to the torch would only improve its appearance. My companion knocks. Inside, I can hear 3 beating hearts belonging to 2 children and a crying woman. Perhaps we can hear what they have to say. Go to hell. Well, we're off to an auspicious start. Excuse me, madam, we are here about the missing woman. I say in a calming voice. I hear a brief inhale, then heavy footsteps until the door opens with a bang. I give her my best disarming smile and extend the courtesy of not tearing out her throat for provoking me. She is, after all, grieving. This is Isaac Rosenthal, a concerned citizen in Conall Dalton, the best bounty hunter in Georgia. I understand that there is a person missing. I ask as I capture the woman with my eyes. I lightly push despair at the forefront. She's gone. Nobody believes me, nobody. The coppers say she is just a whore turning tricks somewhere else, but I know her. She said she would be home and she's always where she's supposed to be, and the room was a mess, and, wah. I slightly pull the woman forward and pat her head. Her hair is dry and coarse under my touch, but she smells clean. I comfort her for a while and ask her to invite us in. We follow her into the single room. The place speaks to me of dignity in the face of adversity. The white plastered walls are bare, the furniture all cobbled together from rough wood, some of it falling apart. What pots can be found are chipped, and in the middle of it all stands a bed in a state of disarray. I can now tell for sure that the disappeared woman was indeed turning tricks, as the smell of tobacco and stale sex is unmistakable. I seat the woman in a rickety chair under the worried gazes of two young children, a boy and a girl. They have the lost expression of those who know that something tragic has occurred, yet do not understand the implications. Are they here for Mama? I was mistaken, they do understand. Yes, we are. Now go sit on the bed while I talk to my new friend here. I add with a hint of suggestion. I am bound to find the victim, that does not mean I have to suffer the presence and constant nagging of her spawn. Now tell us what happened. While our host babbles, I steal a look towards Isaac and I immediately understand how he could maintain his sanity all those years. His very mind is predatory. Dalton looks aloof, taking in a few details but generally acting as a sentinel. By comparison, my kin is like a bloodhound. His gaze shifts from one element to another with absolute concentration, noting every detail and cataloging them before switching to the next with a logic that only he can follow. No one here exists. He is in a world of his own where his intellect peels apart and dissects every bit of detail, every information his mind can capture. It appears my role has been decided, I shall calm the mortal down while he does his thing. I find the thread of hope in the woman and pull it. Immediately, her tears dry and she tells me her tale. I make sure that she keeps her eyes on me. My host's name is Suzanne and her sister is, or was called Christine. She lived alone with her two children and survived mostly through odd jobs. I also learn that it was common for her to place them under her siblings' care while she was practicing the world's most ancient profession for a few more coins. When Suzanne returned today, she found the house empty and partially damaged. She knew immediately that something had gone wrong, but the neighbors had heard nothing out of the ordinary and seen no unusually suspicious people. The nearby road lies between warehouses and the docks after all, and traffic is heavy even late. When she finishes, she glares at me as if daring to comment. I understand why she is defensive. Her sister is a cheap prostitute and a scullery maid. She sits at the bottom of a vertiginous social order and there is no reason for us to care, at all. I find that I care, as much as I care about any other mortal. Those people are on the food chain just like the landowners, the soldiers, and everyone else, and just like everyone else they have their place, beneath me. They have value in what they can bring me and I shall not discard anyone solely because of their social standing. Somebody went through the trouble of abducting a woman from her home. It is a risky endeavor even with meticulous planning. It speaks of means, will, and some measure of competence. I would be curious as to what motivated this decision. As to why Christine in particular, it is obvious. She was extremely vulnerable, an outlaw in the most literal sense of the word, someone who the law no longer protects. I would bet good money that the majority of the other victims share a similarity. If one day I must build myself a nest, those are the people I will recruit, not the posh nobles out for some thrill or the influential merchants, but the outcasts and the fringe members who life has not broken yet, for what they lack in power and influence, they make up in tenacity and scorn. Even now the defiance is Suzanne's eyes will not be extinguished. They are survivors, like me. I can buy influence and I can influence money. Nothing will replace that sheer will to live. Completely oblivious to the situation, Isaac suddenly walks up to a curtain and draws it to reveal a back door. He barely pauses before opening it and stepping outside. Not one for pleasantries I see. Our host certainly looks a bit out of sort at such a cavalier attitude. Well, time to go. I stand up to leave, Dalton in tow. We shall look for her and return to you when we have news. But, wait. Stay here and take care of your niece and nephew, yes? Yes, of course. Outside, my fellow vampire has crossed a vegetable patch and kneels in front of a path, barely more than a mud trail. A stone wall, refuse, and stacks of firewood block the view in every direction. Wordlessly, Isaac stands and follows it back towards the warehouse district. We are following a carriage. Yes, mistress, there was no indication that the entry was forced, so she let them in. It would have been risky to exit a well-frequented street with a wrapped body, however, so they probably dragged her out of the back door. I look at the ground and indeed, besides our footsteps I count 3 more. One of them is very well defined, which hints at quality boots. It is unfortunate that the abductee would let men in without too much fuss as a matter of habit. The kidnappers chose their victim well. Isaac, should we not ask the neighbors what they saw? No need, I know more than enough. The woman was neutralized quickly by 3 men she allowed to enter, then taken out the back and placed in a covered carriage of small size. Quite confident about the details, are we? I shall see if it is warranted. I expected us to lose the tracks, this being a busy place, however I was mistaken. The kidnapping was only a few hours ago and it is quite late, so only light traffic was in the street. The distinctive marks have not been entirely erased yet. We search for an hour. When the tracks are covered, such as in the middle of a busy intersection, Isaac simply inspects every possible exit road until he finds the trail again. Sometimes, men with hungry eyes follow the richly dressed and distracted passerby until a look from Dalton dissuades them. He has grown and filled out quite a bit in the past 6 months thanks to regular meals, and the glint of a pistol's handle makes for a compelling argument. Eventually, our guide leads us to a more remote part of the docks. It is perfectly silent at this time of the night, and I am reminded of when I cleared the warehouse as a first task for Bodwin. I assume that just like then, this area is worked by people who know better than to ask questions. Isaac is inspecting a puzzling set of interlocking tracks when I decide to intervene. I lightly touch his shoulder and he turns around, frustrated. Silently, I tap my nose. He breathes in and his eyes widen in understanding. It smells like tobacco, more specifically of the same quality as the one we were subjected to while in the hovel. This time, however, it is still burning. We follow it to its source. We know we reached our destination when we walk past a city guard in uniform. Red embers from a cigar illuminate his sallow face and his eyes follow us until we leave his sight. There is no discernible reason for this man to guard a private property, alone, at this time of the night. So that is how the kidnappers managed to access Christine's dwelling without a fuss. Not everyone would trust an officer of the law, but few would openly defy one. That is especially true for vulnerable people, like those that were taken. He must have demanded that the door be opened to them, and they thought better than to cause a commotion. Here, their respect of justice and its agents were used as a tool by criminals. Truly, fate can be ironic. We know how and what, now is the time to learn why. I see 2 possibilities. Either they were abducted for the pleasure of a monster wearing human skin, in which case the hunt shall end here, or they were taken to be sold or used elsewhere. Breaking in silently will grant us the most options. I push the men in a side street. I first turn to Dalton. After working together on quite a few bounties, we have developed a way to communicate by gestures that I am rather proud of. I sign the message slowly and deliberately: Isaac, I, up, hunt, kill, you, go, sentinel, silent, warn, incoming. His answer is prompt: condition, enemy, come, kill, silent, agreement. I nod in affirmation. He can eliminate incoming threats at his discretion. I trust him. With this, Dalton leaves like a shadow and I take a moment to appreciate his skill. After he turns the corner, I climb the wooden walls of the nearest building and stride across the roofs, Isaac in tow. Who is that man to you? I turn with no small amount of curiosity. Can he not tell? That is my vassal. Impressive. Vassals are the first step towards the creation of a true human servant. You are fortunate to have found one so soon, and powerful for binding him so early in your new life. I admit that your master's acumen in selecting candidates is as good as they say. I frown in anger. Of course the master was right to choose me. Wait, no, what does he mean? Have I been insulted? Please, I meant it as a compliment. You see, most clans are so focused on turning those that are the best soldiers, artists, and bankers that they forget to turn those that will be the best vampires. What? Forgive me, I am getting distracted. On to the matter at hand. I doubt that his bloodline wants for attention span. Either my status is more interesting than finishing the hunt or he was delaying. No matter. We jump across the narrow ledge separating us from our target. I kneel, close my eyes and focus. Under the creak and groans of wood and the various sounds of the night, there are 3 heartbeats. It is too difficult for me to discern at this time if the victim is one of them. I need more practice. The advantage of hunting with a fellow vampire is that I do not need signs. I can whisper and his acute hearing will pick it up while the mortals are none the wiser. 3 inside. Shall we take out the officer first? Only if we have no choice. A strange decision. I do not understand his logic. Why make things complicated? We should just locate the women and kill those that infringe on his territory. Anything else is just enough. I agreed to help him. My word is given. At least avoiding the policeman's attention should offer some measure of challenge and make the hunt interesting. I am an old hand at breaking into warehouses, sadly. The first step is always to scout it. I walk to the back and lower myself in front of a filthy window. I manage to glimpse the interior through the stained glass. 3 men are playing cards under the light of a lantern. They are sitting around a table in the center of a mezzanine overlooking the ground floor. On the far end, just above the main entrance, I spot a small office. It is barely more than a cage, but it should suffice. I hoist myself back up and invite Isaac to follow. After stopping in front of the office window, I drop down and hang in front of it with my feet in the air and one clawed hand firmly planted into the wall's wood. Then, I close my eyes. The noises of the game come into focus. A few hands are played in relative silence until one gets especially heated. As a triumphal "ha" echoes in the room, I dig my claw in the frame. My finger pushes through cleanly. It hurts a little. I wait in silence as they continue. I remain so far unnoticed. I slowly lift the lock with my finger and take it out. I then place 4 claws under the lower rail. I wait until the next commotion to lift the entire style. This time, the noise was not entirely covered. Did you hear something? No. I still go to the roof as a measure of precaution. A few seconds later, it is not the players but the police officer who comes to check the source of the disturbance. I was heard from the outside. Fortunately, it is too dark for him to notice that the window is still open. After a perfunctory examination, he leaves. I admit that this is fun. My foes may be no match for me in a straight fight, but to outwit and outmaneuver them so completely is gratifying. Perhaps Isaac did the right thing after all. As soon as the coast is clear, I quietly slide into the office. The game of cards has resumed, though it is more subdued now. I climb over a desk and down to the dusty ground to find that the room is cluttered with a strange hoard of everyday items including tools, ropes, pots and even a toy horse. Someone managed to create a path to the door. Isaac slides in behind me and his eyes latch on the pile of papers in front of him. Before he can get too absorbed, I whisper. Should we not interrogate them? The woman is not here. It would be too noisy. Besides, I can get all the answers I need from here, he answers dismissively. Did you, or did you not come here to hunt? I hiss quietly. If you can make them talk without alerting the whole quarter with the commotion, be my guest. He then turns and starts sorting and arranging the documents, completely absorbed in his task. Very well then, you insufferable bookworm. Scared of his true self. Waste of essence. Yet I gave my word, so he remains in charge. He did, however, challenge me. The walls of the room are nothing but a small separation, they do not even raise all the way to the rafters. What was a handicap when trying to break in discreetly has become an advantage. I jump to a wooden beam and grab it with both talons and knees, then follow it out of the enclosed space. I am now hanging upside down and moving slowly towards the small group. Blood does not rush to my head, making the position strangely relaxing. Now to choose. The dominant male is a cruel-looking giant of a man with a respectable pile of coins in front of him. His clothes are grubby and there is something insane about his smile. The two others are wary of him in the typical way of people expecting violence. The second man is dressed as a docker and shows the stigmata of unfortunate souls whose mothers drank heavily during pregnancy. The last man is quite promising. He is a Weasley fellow wearing a respectable but ill-fitting suit. His legs are locked around his stool in a death grip. I can also spot dirty and decrepit shoes. Perfect. This one is the archetype of the cowardly social climber. He will squeal the most and will likely have observed more than he should have. I reach the edge of the meager circle of light, then fish a coin from my pocket. I throw it at a copper plate placed against the wall. The coin lands with a small clang as I am already dropping on the ground. The three men turn their heads away from me. I move. My left hand closes around the docker's neck and shatters it as my right lightly punches the weasel's throat. I jump across the table and dig my index in the brute's breastbone. The pain steals his breath. I grab his shoulder and somersault over his head, grab it and bite deep with all 8 fangs. I devour the man's life force. I am not feeding, I am making a point. All the while, my eyes are on the weasel gripping his throat and struggling to take a deep breath. He stares at me with unmitigated terror as his bladder empties under him. I drop the lifeless body. Between my toss and now, less than 4 seconds have passed. I walk to the weasel with the grace of an immortal predator and lean before him with a red-tinged smile. I am close enough that my breath makes him flinch. He desperately crosses the air in front of him with a trembling arm in a pathetic attempt to ward me off. My smile only grows wider. It is a bit late to try and convert. I have some questions. You will answer me, yes. He nods frantically, still trying to catch his breath. Rivers of tears fall down his grimy face and from his throat comes a weird keening. Good. I grab him and drag his mewling form up. You are the ones who took the woman tonight? Nod. And the other women before? Nod. Were they taken here first? Nod. Do you know where tonight's woman was taken? Nod. Were all of them taken to the same place? He shakes his head. I walk back to the office and open the door. Isaac has classified and reordered all the books and free papers and is in the process of organizing them, apparently. When I reach him, he turns around and whispers excitedly. Ah, you are back, I have found some fascinating tidbits of O. Isaac takes in my captive, still hanging from my hand. He is turning a delicate shade of purple. The others? I smile. He looks a tad uncomfortable. Yes, this is what a true hunt looks like. Paper does not bleed, weakling. Tell him where you took the girl, little man. The Frederickson estate. He manages to croak. Good, good. That is consistent with what I found so far. If you just let me. Enough of this, Isaac. If you want to find the girl before they move her, we need to act now. Hold on, I just discovered a large illegal human traffic ring. There is. That is not our agreement. You asked me to help you kill the one responsible for tonight's abduction, not to overturn an entire conspiracy. This is far more important. Are you changing the terms of our agreement, Isaac? I ask with a deceptively soft voice. He is about to raise his voice, but something in my countenance must have warned him. He pauses instead, then admits with no small amount of reluctance. I am not, and my current behavior is defeating the purpose of this whole exercise. He sighs. Let us go, then. Excellent. Do you mind? I ask as I point to our captive. Not at all. He gathers a notebook and a few of the papers under his arm and leaves. Hold on, disposing of the bodies is part of my attributions now. This little escapade is proving to be increasingly frustrating. Oh well, at least I will face the night with my belly full. I managed to convince Isaac to grant me enough time to get changed before our assault on the Fredrickson estate. I have cobwebs on my nice blue dress just because of that stunt on the beam. If possible, I would rather avoid bloodstains as well. Cobwebs can at least be brushed away. I decide against taking my rifle. It is useful but unwieldy, and thus unsuitable for infiltration. The sad truth is that I have difficulties moving around when burdened with it. I would sometimes crawl forward and forget its very presence, only for the barrel to clang against a doorframe. Embarrassing. Perhaps I just need more practice. Nothing will make me forfeit my pistol, however. I am a woman of elegance, refinement, and black powder. Try and stop me. Our carriage arrives at the previously agreed meeting point. As I exit, Isaac comes out from behind the shadow of a tree. We are now at the western edge of savannah, and even the most miserable hovels are giving way to barren fields. The chill in the air is biting and Dalton's breath shows in small icy clouds. The vampire's eyes widen when he sees my outfit. Loth and I worked on it for more than 30 hours and it shows. It is a dress, black as night. No parties will it see, nor dance nor revels. It is a tool of death, an instrument of the hunt, and a statement. It is enough to glance at it to know that its wearer has not come to parley. It is mine and I love it. The outfit covers me snugly from neck to foot. Light metal scales held by silk threads cover most of my torso, arms, and legs. My heart is protected by a fully integrated Hastings-designed chest armor, while bracers of dull steel go over my forearms, strong enough to stop a blade. There are also holsters for my blade, throwing knives and a pistol. Dark boots and a skirt complete the ensemble, although the skirt is just me not feeling comfortable wearing man trousers. The cloth is snug so that when I move, there is no sound of fabric flapping in the air to betray my presence. It was designed and created for me. I walk to Isaac just as Dalton takes out a monstrosity of a crossbow, another one of Loth's creation. My vassal has taken a liking to the ungodly contraption. It might be slow, but it is silent and the draw strength is terrifying. It was designed to kill werewolves, after all. Greetings, HRM, Ariane, the HRM estate. Just that way. Over the hill. I should add distracting to the list of the armor's quality. Perhaps it is just a bit too close-fitting. Particularly, around the bottom. Surely not. Leaving those considerations behind for the moment, I look up to our destination. There is nothing to see, just an empty field going up. The road continues away to our right, and to our left, a small copse of trees hides the carriage. It appears that Isaac expects me to lead and so I do. I walk a bit to the side until we find a path. I do not intend to walk through the actual field. Vampire or no, I would end up with enough caked mud under my soles to start my own plantation. We follow the path in silence, and I keep my ears open for trouble. Soon, the edge of the estate comes into view. Now, I admit to being a commoner. I even admit that the glorified peasant insult I heard from Lady Moore hit a tad too close to home, so I am not the best one to judge other people's properties. With that said, if this qualifies as an estate, then I am the Queen of Spain. This is a decrepit farm, nothing more. Isaac seems to share my concerns. Is this really the place? Undoubtedly, I answer and point forward. The farm is surrounded by stone walls that go around and along the buildings. I see a house, servant quarters and a barn through a pair of open gates. There is some activity in the courtyard, and I can spot the distinctive glow of lanterns. Could they simply not be doing peasant things? Really? Really? In the middle of the night, I hiss, in February. And they need guards for this? I add as I point to a pair of sentinels around the door. I suppose not. This man has been sheltered beyond belief. I assure you, they are the right people. Now, before we proceed, are we in agreement that everyone here needs to die? I would prefer to capture a few so that I may interrogate them at a later time. I grab my temporary employer's shoulder before I lose the last remnants of my temper. I stare him in the eyes, all the while trying to formulate a message that will not be perceived as unnecessarily rude. No need for formalities, Ariane, speak your mind. Very well. You requested that I offer support while you eliminate your foe, now foes, with the clear purpose of protecting your territory. Those are the terms of our arrangement, sir. What happened instead is that I killed your opponents and extracted a location from our prisoners. I assumed that you needed a little nudge and I was, obviously, mistaken. You will assault this farm. You will kill its inhabitants and reclaim your place as its apex predator, and I shall only step in if you find yourself in danger. Only then will you have experienced a true hunt. If I do everything for you, what was the point in coming? Yes, you are correct. Why are you reluctant to kill? Is this not one of the easiest things for us? As a group, I suppose, he replies with a hint of impatience, the issue is that I was trained not to do it. We Rosenthal learn how to dodge, avoid and flee because any conflict we get stuck in is one we should not have been involved in to begin with. Then it is time to rely less on your training and more on your instinct, is it not? Look at those men, look at them. Isaac turns to the pair of grumpy guards. They are complaining in low voices about their assignment and the cruel treatment the weather is inflicting on their gonads. Do you know what they are missing? Isaac frowns and looks them up and down. I can imagine him going through a checklist of what he expects a member of a kidnapping ring should have. I sigh. Fear. Isaac, they do not know fear. They are here on your territory in the dead of night, and they know no fear. They even have lights up and strut around noisily because they are not even afraid of the militia, and why should they? How many of them are in their pockets? They have been poaching from you with impunity for who knows how long. Like rats. Does that not irk you? Is this how things should be? No. You do not need training to tear necks and crush bones, you just need to do what feels right. Yes. Yes. Then show me. He slips into the shadows and moves around to approach the sentinel from the side. I watch him with a bit of concern, soon proven to be unwarranted. He remains quiet. The only issue I ever had with my instincts was that I tend to overestimate myself when I, let us say, succumb to them. Isaac's predicament is beyond comprehension. What manner of vampire fears his own power? I can only presume that I am missing a vital element that would let me understand. I return my attention to the present. Isaac is moving along the walls and will strike shortly. I signal Dalton and whisper in his ear. Go around to the front gate. Kill all who escape. He taps my hand in understanding and leaves. Working for Isaac only increased my appreciation for the faithful vassal. He is not only competent, he is also obedient and proactive. The valiant companions would have been a force to reckon with if he had been a part of their leadership. Their loss, my win. I keep looking as Isaac uses a lull in conversation to grab the first sentinel and smash him backward into the wall. Disappointing. Of course, the second sentinel hears the impact and turns around. The outlaw and the vampire face each other. And stop. Come on. Do something. I walk forward and grab a throwing dagger. I would prefer if the alarm were not raised. If we get spotted too early, it might turn into a chore to chase everyone, not to mention entering the house if anybody calls it their home. Just as the sentinel raises his musket in alarm, Isaac jumps. I recognize that move. I first used it by instinct in the Henley residence, back in New Orleans. It is a great opener and finisher. The vampire's claws dig into the man's chest, stealing his breath forever. Blood erupts in a geyser and paints my companion's face crimson. I do not understand. He could have avoided this easily. He slowly passes his hand over his face, as if to clean it. A fruitless endeavor as they are both covered by the crimson liquid. He stares at his drenched hands. His eyes narrow, considering. He licks his lips. He raises his face to me and for an instant, I see a drop of baleful purple reflected in his tame brown, and then he's gone. I rush to the wall and jump on it. The courtyard is mostly empty but for a few crates. The doors of the barn are wide open and a small cart with a narrow frame is parked in front of it. A few lanterns scattered around allow limited vision to the mortals. A horse neighs in fear. I hear the sound of torn flesh and exclamation of surprise and dismay. My ally is savaging a downed man under the shocked look of a handful of other humans. I cannot see his face from here. I should. I should what? Why would I stop him? Because we need at least one prisoner in case an invitation is required. Curses. I jump down as the first musket is fired. Isaac is hit and that seems to stop his frenzy. He turns to the offender and moves, crushes his throat with a hand before throwing the corpse at another man. His movements are quick and savage but utterly inefficient. He spends far too much time on each victim and would have risked being overwhelmed if his enemies had been trained and equipped to stop him. I find myself disappointed again. I would have loved to see another one of my kind in action against someone other than me, for a change. This performance is rather lackluster. One of our opponents has the presence of mind to jump on the nearest horse to flee as his associates are slaughtered by the strangely resilient madman in their midst. He rushes to the front door and something must have reflected just right because he turns to me and our eyes meet. I smile lightly and point forward. He turns around just in time for a quarrel to appear in his mount's chest. They collapse in a heap. A magnificent shot, as always. Now I just need to select one of the survivors. It appears that it will not be necessary. The front door of the house is banged open by a veritable mountain of a man in dirty coveralls. From here I can smell the stench of alcohol and old sweat, a revolting mix that speaks of decadence and neglect. He carries in his hand a large butcher knife covered with old blood, some of it human. Behind him comes the leader of this place. I know authority when I see it. The ringleader is dressed in a conservative gray suit that would not be out of place in a courtroom. His dark eyes sweep the courtyard without a hint of care for the fallen. He is not worried in the slightest, only angry that someone would dare assault his operation. Both men notice me at the same time. The tall one smiles with a most dreadful expression, while the leader only shows cold disdain. A woman. Very astute, sir, I commend you on your keen sense of observation. They both frown. Ah yes, it is difficult to reconcile me with what they know of the world. In it, I should be cowering in fear like all the vulnerable people they kidnapped from their home. Get her, says the leader with a bored voice. I let the tall man approach me. The ugly smirk on his face would have had me worried 2 years ago. I am no longer that Ariane. His grubby paw reaches to grab my shoulder. I quickly stab his arm and dance away, ripping his artery open lengthwise. He recoils in pain and surprise. I do not understand his astonishment. I did not move, did not show fear. Did he truly expect me to stay there and wait for the cruel treatment his countenance promised? He advances with fury while his hands try to stem the flow of blood. I step back. This is my favorite moment. Fury turns to concern when he sees the puddle of blood that already escaped his doomed body, then to genuine fear and then to panic. He ties a filthy handkerchief around the gaping wound as if it could stem the tide. "Boss, help me." The boss grinds his teeth in frustration and takes out a gun. He does not even spare a look for his poor subordinate. Ah, a true monster in human skin with no empathy and no honor. I shall enjoy toying with him. The brute falls on his knees as the other man passes him by. He is white as a sheet while the earth under him turns a beautiful shade of carmine. For an instant, I take in the beauty of the moment. The red, the black and the white highlights. Life and death intertwined for one fleeting moment. A wonderful trio of a dying man, one walking to his death and a woman who died and came back, each a victim of a fate beyond their knowledge and control. I sometimes miss the daylight, but times such as those make it all worthwhile. The second man reaches me and the painting fades. With a sneer, he lifts a pistol and shoots me in the face. Or at least, tries to. How very forward, and quite rude besides. Why, these savannah people certainly are a brazen bunch. I move my entire torso to the side as he pulls the trigger and the smoke ignites. There is no need for me to dodge the projectile, just the man's aim. The bullet schemes past my left ear like an angry hornet. Ow! Ow ow ow! So loud. This is quite painful. Why do I not have this issue on our house's firing range? Is it because this time I'm on the receiving end? Gah! I force myself to keep smiling even though I want to rip his throat open. I just wanted to appreciate a little memento mori, instant in peace. Is it too much to ask? Bah, I cannot kill him. Really, it is forbidden by my agreement with Isaac. The cold man in front of me shows a bit of wariness for the first time since we met. Fascinating. Seeing his men dead or dying should have clued him in, and yet it takes his own failure to realize his predicament. Hubris. The failings of a man used to seeing talent in himself only. You have no idea who you're messing with. You and your friends are already dead. Unless. The boss scowls in frustration. Somewhere behind us, a man begs for his life. Go on. You were going to finish your sentence with something, no? You will all die unless you let me go. If you leave I will only ask for reparation. My many powerful friends will destroy you and your families. Do continue. I think I've heard most variations of the classics but sometimes, someone still manages to surprise me. I will teach you respect, whore. Boring. Oh well. The man unsheathes a rapier from an ornate scabbard and lunges immediately. I take a simple step back to avoid the tip of the blade while grabbing my own and swipe up to deflect a follow-up that does not come. After his attack failed to hit, the man simply fell back and now circles me warily. You know, you might be decently trained but you lack real-world experience. Shut up. I dodge 2 more lunges, then bat the third to the side. Instead of using his superior reach to his advantage, he stops again. Another mistake. Shooting the head is good in a competition. Soldiers know better and aim for the center mass. Less chance of missing, that way, and the target is just as disabled, not that it would have helped you. I said, shut up. You wench. I'll have you entertain the whole barack. So only 3 men, no, 2 now. This man is trained to fight in a fencing room so I simply move more across the battlefield. He tries to follow as I dodge and weave around crates and bodies. You're too focused on me, keep an eye on your surroundings. I smile. Typical. Watch the leg, I warn as I parry. The rapier slides on Jimenez's gift above my head as I move forward and down. He jumps back in reflex and stumbles against the extended limb of one of his fallen comrades. I did not mean yours. Ah, this has been a disappointment. Crow was much more entertaining than you, puppet. Perhaps I should have offered a wager. This isn't over. If you look left, you will see that it is. The man cannot resist, his eyes flicker to the left just as Isaac smashes into him from the right. Oops. I lied, I say, then I stop. Something is wrong. Isaac's posture has devolved. He is hunched like a beast and his snarls and disorderly strikes send plumes of crimson into the air as he slashes ineffectively. His clothes are in tatters and the cold and orderly aura I associate with him has turned sour. Just like the vampire in the wood at the Tillerson estate. Bloody hell. I move forward, grab Isaac by the shoulder and push him away from his mewling victim. He rolls and faces me. I see no sign of intelligence in his brown eyes. His entire face is coated with blood. Oh, this is bad. That is enough, get a hold of yourself. Mine. He growls in answer. He hisses and I do the same. Trying to assert dominance. Weakling. Not even able to control himself. Worthless. I will put him in his place. And non-lethally. I may not warrant the attention of Clan Rosenthal now, but should I slay one of its scions I certainly will. Briefly. He lunges and I move and duck. As he glides above me, I stab his solar plexus with 5 talons to stop his momentum. Then I slam him on his back. I aim for his heart and he grabs my wrist in panic. My other hand is already reaching up. I lift him and as his body leaves the ground, I find the opening I need. 2 claws dig mercilessly into the back of his neck. He stops moving. Isaac, look at me. He growls softly and shows me fangs. Defiance? You cannot afford defiance. 2 spikes of black chitin pierce the bone of his spine. He whimpers. Isaac. Look at me. Isaac. Yes. I am Isaac. He closes his eyes in meditation and slowly, his body relaxes. The cold aura slowly loses its sour note until nothing is left but perfectly ordered strands. I haven't moved, and I still do not move when he looks at me, nor when his hand grabs the one I left resting on his chest. The intimacy of the moment gives me a peculiar feeling though I am not afraid. I made him submit. For tonight, our hierarchy is clear. Thank you, I would like to stand up now. I drag him up. He looks beyond exhausted, even while his skin is smooth and his eyes clear. It is a fatigue of the mind and of the soul. How do you do it? What? How do you keep it at bay, the great beast, the one that needs to dominate and destroy? I tried so hard to hear it through my conditioning that when I succeeded, there were only screams in my head. Nothing mattered but to terrify and slay the mortals. It wanted more and more. Your voice is the only one that could pierce the veil, make it go quiet. You just remind yourself of what your purpose is. The violent part of us lacks self-preservation. It needs to be tempered. Is it? He chuckles madly, is it really a part of me? That thing that only craves death and subjugation? How do you live with it, Ariane, how do you live with its constant whispers? There are no whispers. There has never been anyone in my head but myself. This is not some mysterious evil entity, Isaac, just a part of you that needs to be controlled so that it can be used as one more tool in your arsenal. I have always been me. It has always been a part of me, nothing more and nothing less. My companion looks mortified as if I had just condemned him to death. What about him? I point to the fallen leader to change the topic. Did you not want to question him? I have an inkling as to what his business model is like. I do not feel like saving his life just to end it later. You should drain him then, bring tonight's hunt to a proper end. I cannot, He throws up. Black, disgusting liquid with not a shred of essence spills on the muddy ground. I step back so it does not stain my boots. I cannot. Isaac stands straight. And wipes his mouth with a dirty handkerchief. He takes a deep breath and addresses me with impressive solemnity. Ariane of Clan Mirari, I, Isaac of Clan Rosenthal, declare your contract fulfilled. As a token of my appreciation, I offer you the prize of the hunt. Magic washes over me, reminding me of my deal with Loth. This is the power of the oath, and in this case, of a promise fulfilled. A wave of pleasure creeps up my spine with the purity and certainty of things made right. I smoothly go to the pitiful head of this defunct operation, brought low in a single night. I ignore his babbles and empty promises as I hoist him up. I disregard his cries of fear and pain as I bite deep. I feed. Yes, even in the relative serenity of my mind's fortress I can feel the power rushing into me along with the vitality of the vanquished. I can feel Isaac's presence at my side, waiting respectfully until I am done. It is empowering, flattering, and just a little arousing. I hope his nose is saturated by the stench of blood. When I am done, I throw the body away. I must leave now, Ariane. There is much for me to consider, and I feel unusually tired. I will handle the cleanup, do not worry. I nod. He pauses briefly to consider something in silence. You really are good at this, you know. Being a vampire. Some of us lose ourselves to our instincts. Somehow, I figure this will never be a risk for you. Seeing you fight so naturally has been enlightening. I thank you and wish you all the best. Do right when you have the time. I nod again and he departs without a look back. When I am convinced that he is out of sight, I finally relax. Damn it, I'm drunk again.